It's an overcast and fairly warm day in Joliet, Illinois, and more importantly, the Chicagoland Speedway is dry and race ready. Delayed today by rain, 43 drivers are set to go 400 miles on a very fast track, and within that race, 12 drivers embark on what may be the most competitive chase ever for the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
We all chase something. Deadlines, glory, the American dream. It's part of human nature. Whether you're an overachiever or a wallflower, we're never satisfied, we chase. And then NASCAR came up with an interesting idea for a playoff system. They called it, fittingly enough, the chase. Suddenly the chase gave chase new meaning. It's no longer just about pursuit. It's about clean slates. It's about guys like Johnson, Gordon, Busch, Harvick. Sure, you had great seasons. Now do it again. It's about chasing down the leader and leaving the pack in the rear view. It's about getting inside someone's head and staying for a drink. It's about achieving something in 10 weeks that no one can ever take away. Tell me, can you think of anything better to chase?
And ESPN welcomes you to Race 1 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Today it's the Geico 400 from the Chicagoland Speedway in Joliet, Illinois. The cars are gridded along the pit lane. The drivers are climbing aboard and buckling in, getting ready to race. The frustrations for fans, teams, and drivers at having the race postponed today by Sunday's heavy rains must, for the competitors, be put aside now. The task at hand is a tough one, and they're all focused in for the challenge. NASCAR Sprint Cup Series champion will be determined by the results of these final 10 races of the season, and the seedings entering the chase show a very tight and competitive group. Those 12 championship chasers spread throughout the 43 cars starting grid today, from pole sitter Matt Kenseth, the 4 seed, to Kevin Harvick, the 2 seed, who starts all the way back in 30th position. Alan Bestwick with champion driver and crew chief Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie. Most folks consider this championship a pick'em. Anybody could win it. That said, how do these guys approach this race?
Yeah, wide open. These drivers understand that too. They have to make every position they possibly can, get all the points, no mistakes anywhere. You can't win this championship here today, but you sure could make it an uphill battle if you make that mistake. And oh yeah, there's about 20 other drivers outside this chase that want to be a part of it and win too.
It's going to be a chase for the crew chiefs too. They're going to be chasing this racetrack and trying to keep up with it. It's very important to get off to a good start in these 10 races.
Track conditions have changed greatly from when they were expecting the race on Sunday afternoon to what they'll face in these opening laps. A familiar face is trackside, ready to get the engines fired up.
Race fans, getting our Geico 400 underway is so easy, even a caveman could do it. In fact, he will. With the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome the caveman.
How's it going, race fans? I didn't quite catch that. Thank you. Today's a great day for NASCAR, a great day for the Chicagoland Speedway, and a great day for a certain insurance company that could save you 15% or more on car insurance, apparently. All kidding aside, welcome to the Geico 400. And now, without further ado, the words you've been waiting to hear all weekend, and the words I've been waiting to say my whole life. Gentlemen, start your engines!
When you get back to base, Heine. How we doing?
That was fun. Hopefully just the beginning of a very fun day. Getting ready to go in mid-pack in the starting field is a man who statistically is one of the favorites here at the Chicagoland Speedway. Tony Stewart, one of the drivers chasing the championship. Tony is our in-race reporter for the day, and he has had tremendous success at this racetrack in the past. A 2-time winner here, 2004 and 2007 for Stewart. We'll talk to Tony on the pace laps as we come back and get ready to get today's race underway.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Geico 400 at Chicago is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Goodyear, chosen for superior performance. Goodyear, more driven. And Sprint, proud sponsor of the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
Chicagoland Speedway, where the field of 43 is fired and about set to roll off the pit lane to begin today's Geico 400. You look at the starting grid coming across the top of your screen, headed by Matt Kenseth, one of the championship chasers. His fellow Wisconsinite is alongside. First time ever we've had an all-Wisconsin natives front row in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. As we cycle back on through the starting grid, eventually we'll get to Tony Stewart. He's kind of mid-pack back in row number 13. Tony, the subject of our Gillette Pro Glide profile. And a performance today at one of his best racetracks could turn some skeptical about his chances to win this championship into believers. We'll find out as these 400 miles unfold. Tony's our in-race reporter. Let's talk to him.
Hey, Tony, Dale Jarrett, you have a copy?
Yeah, ma'am.
All right, Tony, our first question comes from our mailbag, and James in Rochester, New York asks, do you think Chicago is the perfect place to start off this year's chase since you've won here twice?
Well, only if we win here a third time. But it's a cool place, obviously. This is it's a neat track, and it's going to be fast today. For fans that like to see us run quick lap times and run high speeds, today's your day. So it's going to be important to get some track position here, to get some clean air to run those laps. But I think we got Office Depot Mobile and Chevy that can do it.
Hey, Smoke, about 4 weeks ago, after maybe not one of your better runs, you kind of stated that you weren't sure y'all even deserved to be in the chase. But after the past 2 weekends at Atlanta and Richmond, I would have to say you have much more confidence going into this chase.
Well, we got some. I mean, we definitely have made gains. I'm really, really proud of our guys. I'm proud of everybody at Stewart Haas Racing. There isn't anybody on this organization that's quit, give up. So we just got to keep digging and do what we've been doing here and hope for the best here these last 10 weeks.
All right, Smoke, thanks for talking with us. You have a great day. Now Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Darian Grubb.
Everybody.
Hey, Darian, Andy Petrie. Got us?
I got you, Andy.
Hey, Darian, 10 races, win it all. How do you feel about your program? Is it in good shape and it's all about execution? Or are you guys going to be trying some new things as we go through these 10?
We've been trying a few things the last few races, just trying to make our program better. Everybody at Stewart Haas Racing is working really hard trying to get better. We have a really fast racetrack today and go out there and show what we got and hopefully be able to move our way up front.
Okay, Darian, I know it's going to be fast and furious today. Good luck with it.
Bye, guys.
That's our in-race reporter, Tony Stewart. His crew chief, Darian Grubb. Our over-the-wall reporter today is the rear tire changer for Dave Blaney's 36 car, Mark Hollywood Armstrong. Hollywood, have a great day down there. We will be watching. Our 8 high-definition onboard cameras are spread throughout the starting field today. Got 5 of them in championship chaser cars. They're all spread from front to back of the grid. Some good ones here at Chicagoland Speedway to ride on board with. So finally, a day later, the cars are on the track and we'll have the green flag when we come back in just a minute. Less than a lap from the green flag for the Geico 400 at Chicagoland Speedway. Race fans, check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy to watch coverage live from today's race. Follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. To set some stories from pit road before the start, we begin with Jamie Little.
Well, Alan, the only driver-crew chief combination who's been in every chase is Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus. Now, Chad told me their secret when it comes to the chase, they don't panic. They don't flip a switch, even on a rain delay. They're going for a 6th straight championship, and it all begins here at a track they've never won at. Dr. Jerry Punch.
Jamie, most drivers will tell you that to win a championship, you must have confidence, momentum, and surround yourself with a great team. Well, Jeff Gordon has all of the above. As for confidence, he said it in Victory Lane in Atlanta. I'm rejuvenated. The momentum part, he hasn't finished worse than 3rd the last 3 races. And for the great team, Hendrick Motorsports has 10 Cup titles, but none with these guys. So Alan Gustafson and these boys are hungry. Vince Welch.
Kyle Busch is the #1 seed, and if he's to stay atop those rankings, crew chief Dave Rogers says he must not overdrive the car, just take what it gives him, and in turn, the crew must be spot on, limit its mistakes. Busch has more top fives than any other driver so far this season, and if he can continue that trend, he may win his first Sprint Cup championship. Alan?
Vince thanks Robbie Gordon to the rear of the field for an engine change during the weekend. 43 drivers trying to win the 400-mile race. 12 drivers looking to take the first step in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Green flag at Chicagoland. Matt Kenseth, the lead, lap 1. First bonus point for leading laps to Kenseth. Kurt Busch second, Paul Menard third. First side-by-side is going to be for second place. Here's Menard looking on Kurt Busch.
Yeah, Kurt Busch got a little bit of a wiggle right there in the center of the corner. Shot him up the racetrack, opened the door for Menard.
Track is green, has a lot of grip, a lot of speed. Have a competition caution after 30 laps, so these drivers are going to push the cars hard. Got to see what they need to be working on.
With the green racetrack, the competition caution, kind of standard NASCAR procedure. Let the crew chiefs and teams get a look at the tire wear and make sure everything is good and safe.
Right there was something I was wanting to see, how much these guys might push the issue up on that second groove. See Kurt Busch get a great run off of turn 2.
There's Carl Edwards in the 99, Greg Biffle in the 16 coming up to join the second place race. Edwards kind of looks like he was looking for a hole to find a way around.
A lot of people pointed at the Roush Fords and all the Fords here this weekend. Seemed like that the engine package really suits this racetrack.
But it hasn't in the past. They've never won here. Roush Racing has never won in any series at this track. So Carl Edwards looks like one of the strong horses for him today.
Bigger picture, this is a mile-and-a-half track. Of the 10 races in the chase, 5 of them will be on mile-and-a-half tracks. They're all subtly different, but in general, the characteristics that you need in the car are similar enough that you can read into it what someone's done or doing on the mile-and-a-halfs as what it's going to take for half of this championship.
One of the things about mile-and-a-half tracks is they really expose everything. The engine, the aero, the handling, mechanical grip, all of these things come into play at a mile-and-a-half.
Jimmy Johnson beginning the quest for a 6th championship. Started in 12th place. Dropped back a couple of spots in the opening couple of laps in the shakeout. Running 14th now, trying to pick up a little bit of track position. That's Regan Smith in the 78 he's trying to pass. And as we start to run these first 10 laps, drivers are going to get a feel pretty quickly for how the track conditions are suiting or not suiting their cars.
One thing I want to know from my driver right now is what's the car doing early, and then how is the track changing? What's it doing towards the end of this 30-lap run? And that way we'll know, what the trend of the track's going to be and maybe what the trend of our car is going to be so we can keep up with it and stay in front of it.
Yeah, I think you're going to hear a lot more chatter from the drivers, in particular to their crew chiefs, past lap 15, because that's whenever they're going to start seeing some rubber get put down. You can already see the track starting to blacken up quite a bit, so they'll have a better idea of exactly what they need to change on their race car.
Good case in point there. See how Carl Edwards was up there trying to find a way to race for 3rd and 2nd place a little while ago. He's dropped back a couple of spots as we put a few laps on in this race. And Jimmy Johnson still trying to hunt that spot on Regan Smith.
I think that's what we're going to see most of the day is there's a lot of speed in the bottom of the racetrack, but trying to complete a pass down there, especially on the exit of the corner, you need all the racetrack here to make that happen.
And in the frame there as well, Bobby Labonte, 47, the former champion, giving up 12th place to Regan Smith. Labonte with a terrific qualifying run for this event. Started in 11th. So Matt Kenseth has led all the laps so far from the pole in that 17 car. There's the gap, first to second, the yellow car, Kurt Busch, 22. Then it's Menard, 27. And Greg Biffle in the 16 running fourth. Then the gap back to Carl Edwards in the 99, who's running fifth.
It looks like Biffle kind of took over as the Roush top car and chased down the top four, or top three, actually. Kind of hung behind Menard.
You'd expect Biffle to do well here with all the success he's had at Kansas, which is a 1.5 mile racetrack. Even though, as Alan pointed out, they all have a little different characteristics, but this is a place you stand on the gas, hang things out a little bit. Greg Biffle is one of the best at doing that.
One of the teams not in the championship that still has a lot to prove. Biffle yet to win this season, and they've led a lot of laps at various times, but haven't been able to finish.
Yeah, that's what makes him really dangerous in this as far as the other chase drivers getting in between there. He's capable of putting together some wins, some really good finishes that obviously will separate those chase drivers and change the points up quite a bit. As he takes over that third spot now.
Shuffling Paul Menard back to position. Menard, the subject of a lot of discussion this week. Accusations, I shouldn't say accusations, well, yeah, I will call it accusations, that perhaps he spun out intentionally late in the Richmond race last week to bring out a caution that might create circumstances for his teammate Kevin Harvick to compete with Jeff Gordon for the win. Richard Childress, the team owner, and Menard have both denied such a thing occurred. NASCAR says it has no evidence that anything intentionally was done. Menard put it behind him by qualifying on the front row for this race. Dave Burns on pit road.
And, of course, we did check in with his crew chief, Slugger Labby, just to kind of work it through one more time with him. He said, yeah, Paul talked to NASCAR, and they said what you said, Alan, no evidence to convict, so to speak. And so he said, you know what? We talked about it as little as possible, and we moved on, and let's get to racing. And, Alan, like you said, he's talking on the racetrack qualifying as well as he did.
Sure did. Started on the outside of the front row, running fourth.
See him reach up during that segment there and flip one of the switches. They've got brake fans and blowers that blow on the brakes. Oh, we got a little contact right there with Montoya. And remember the contact that we had at Atlanta with these two, Clint Boyer.
Montoya 42, Boyer 33, wiggling there. A.J. Allmendinger 43, going to take advantage.
I'm not so sure that Allmendinger didn't move him right there.
Yeah, and I've watched Clint Boyer be extremely aggressive. As you see, he slowed down. I think he's acting like maybe they're checking it out. Like he may have a rear tire going flat as loose as he got there, but he's been pretty aggressive on some moves coming up through.
Right behind Boyer now, Dale Earnhardt Jr., 20th position. Right about where he started. Earnhardt Jr. started in 19th. Had that, I'll call it harrowing night a week ago in Richmond where things went wrong in the opening laps of the race and managed to come back and finish 16th and get a spot in the championship.
I think there's just more. You could see the 33 car loose on entry, and when he got down in there, it was just carrying too much speed. Back in, couldn't keep up.
Classic definition of loose.
That's what we're talking about, loose, yes.
So Boyer hanging in there in 19th position. Up front, it is Matt Kenseth. He's led every lap so far. Just put David Stremme a lap down. Stremme on and off pit road under the green in that red 30 car just a moment ago. Early going of the Geico 400 at the Chicagoland Speedway on this Monday. Matt Kenseth in the 17 has led all of the laps so far. Make sure to stay tuned for our NASCAR non-stop coverage in the second half of today's race, presented by Sprint. If you have to leave your television for some reason today, make sure you check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy. You can watch live coverage from here in Chicago. Follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. Kenseth with a 0.6 of a second lead on Kurt Busch, with Greg Biffle third, Paul Menard fourth. Ryan Newman has joined the top 5 with Carl Edwards slipping back to 6th. There's the gap from first back. Want to dip back into the field just a little bit. Some of the heavy hitters in the championship that started kind of deep in the pack. Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick, Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin. They all started a little deep in the field. There's Gordon, who has dropped back a little bit and now kind of regained those spots. He's pretty much running where he started now.
I don't think his car is exactly what he wants right now. Looks like he was going to make a little charge to the front. Now it's stalled out again. So you got to work on this thing on the brake.
When he regained some of those spots a couple of laps ago, it was kind of exciting off turn 4.
Pretty aggressive for this point in time in the race. See, Jeff's up on the high side. He's coming off of turn 4 right here.
Had a huge run. Takes it all the way to the apron.
Yeah, that's not out of bounds here. You'll see drivers throughout the day utilizing that.
Jeff Gordon and Martin Truex, he was passing there. Dr. Jerry Punch on Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, they have battled the car being a little bit loose all weekend, AB. And they know that it's a long race, and they told Jeff Gordon and see Alan Guster on the left. It's all about the big picture. If we can get a 7th or 8th place car, let's not do something stupid and end up with a 25th or 30th place finish. So Jeff being very deliberate, although you wouldn't know right now, as he squeezes down in between two cars following the 88. Gordon right now a little bit loose, a little free on entry. They'll make an adjustment in 3 laps on that stop.
Yep, competition caution just a few laps away. Thanks, Doc. Now, Gordon got Casey Kane in the 4 right behind him. Then comes Kevin Harvick in the 29. Tony Stewart in the 14 also. They're racing for 24th and 25th positions.
And running 2 completely different lines. They're almost in 2 different counties as they go through the corners. Harvick's been on the top side of the racetrack. We saw him in practice on Friday, really working this higher line. You see Tony Stewart still right down on the very bottom of the racetrack, running almost identical lap times.
Jeff Burton in the picture there as well from time to time. There's Denny Hamlin racing with David Rudiman. Defending winner of this race, Rudiman in the 00. Hamlin not making much progress forward, Dave. After starting in 27th, he's running 27th.
Yeah, that would be not much progress for sure. Just a little tight is the only thing the driver has said on the radio, and at this point, Alan, I got to believe he's being very patient just a couple laps away from that competition caution.
All right, Dave, thanks. So Hamlin not making much headway in the opening run of the race, and as you heard Dave, his team going to go to work on that car on this upcoming caution flag and pit stop.
Yeah, and I think this is exactly what we expected. Very competitive throughout the field. Not just, we talk about how these 12 drivers are close in the chase, but we've got a lot of other competition that these guys have to deal with.
Curious to me, you see how dark the pavement has become in the corners already. These cars laid down a lot of rubber in the turns very quickly for this race.
Yeah, that kind of surprised me. I thought it might take a few more laps than that, but it looked like the track took rubber immediately. I mean, the first few laps you could see the track getting dark, and it's kind of settled in now, so I think that's a good thing for these teams. When this competition caution comes up in a lap or so, that they'll be able to adjust their car and feel like it's stabilized enough.
With the track rubbering in quickly in the overcast conditions, it'll make track conditions a little more consistent than maybe if one of those things weren't so. And there it is, competition caution. NASCAR making it its custom when they have a set caution to come out like that to let almost all of the lead lap cars cross the start-finish line before they put the yellow out, so something doesn't get crossed up in the throwing of the caution flag and trap somebody inadvertently a lap down. So here we go. Yellow number 1 is going to come out for all the pit crews to go to work. Looking farther ahead, we've seen a lot of races where strategy in the late going of the race has decided it, be it fuel mileage or tire strategy. A lot of folks expect in the late going of this race, we're going to see that.
Yeah, and some of the teams might even try a little experiment right here because they've only run 30 laps. It's not going to hold a full tank of fuel, which to put the full tank of fuel, it takes about 14 seconds to do that. So you might as well put 4 tires on. When you only have to take a half a load, it's a time that you could just take 2 tires and see what happens. And so we'll just see what happens here.
Pit crews getting ready to go to work. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award is determined by the winner of each race, the fastest pit time, and your vote. Text the car number to 234-567 of your pit crew choice. 34 car David Gilliland was the first car a lap down, 38th place. He gets the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. Put Gilliland, the California native, back on the lead lap and put the green light at the end of pit road open flashing, saying it's time to go to work. Jamie?
Well, Carl Edwards, as many of the drivers, said he started out free, but he tightened up a little bit, wants to go back on the air pressure, wants a wedge adjustment, expects long runs today. 4 tires for Carl Edwards, Vince.
The 18 of Kyle Busch, he says it's just a little snug in the center and snug off. It's a 2-tire change for Kyle Busch. Dave.
Older brother Kurt Busch says that the exit of the corner is okay for him, but the center he needs to turn a little bit better. 4-tire change full of Sunoco fuel. Doc?
Right lower corner, race leader Matt Kenseth tight on the first third on entry. They're going to change air pressure, quarter round left rear. So he hurt the exit, and the 17 car is the second car off because of the 2-tire change. On the 18, he beats him off.
Well, like you forecast, Andy, one team going to roll the dice on that strategy and find out what it's going to do for later. Kyle Busch will lead off pit road. Join Goodyear in NASCAR in saluting America's Armed Forces and give back by helping support our troops. Visit Goodyear.com/support our troops to learn more. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. Field getting the 1-to-go signal. Kyle Busch with the right side only strategies. Your new leader chooses the inside lane. Jeff Gordon lost a few spots on his pit stop, Andy, kind of on the approach to his pit stall.
Yeah, he was looking to make up some spots, but he came in here to make this stop. Jamie McMurray's front tire changer was just taking that tire off, and you see it just rolls right out in front of Jeff. It just had to slow him up a little bit. Had to hesitate getting into his stall.
Cost him 5 spots on the pit stop. So Gordon back in 28th position in that 24 car. So getting ready for the first restart of the race. Kyle Busch will be the third leader of the race. 38 car of J.J. Yaley stayed out to lead a couple of laps under the caution flag. Again, David Gilliland back on the lead lap. Joe Nemechek took the wave around and is also back at the tail of the field. So, Kyle Busch with just the 2 fresh right side tires.
Yeah, see how this works out. Jeff Burton got himself up in the top 10 with just a 2-tire change also. So as Andy pointed out, a good experiment here early on.
Well, we'll see if it's a good experiment. We'll see how it turns out.
Deep. That was Dale Earnhardt Jr. peaking low for a second. Then he popped back in line. Little accordion mid-pack. Hang on. Second place, 22 Kurt Busch, 17 Matt Kenseth. As Kyle Busch gets to the lead.
See how Kenseth's car handles up there on that top side. He moved up there a few laps, but that was after they had about 15 laps on their tires. Kind of had things his way in that first run wherever he wanted to, but most of it was done on the bottom.
Got Biffle 16, Menard 27, then a little gap back to the rest of the pack. There's your top 5, and then there's the race for 6th. Jeff Burton in that 31 car. Andy mentioned taking just the right side tires. He was 26th before the stop. He restarted 7th, and he's racing there with Ryan Newman in the 39.
There's 2 tires on Burton's car also. I'm watching both of those just kind of see how it shakes out. Actually, Kyle Busch ran his fastest lap of the race out front on 2 tires. Just 100th of a second off Carl Edwards, who has the fastest lap of the race so far. So initially, the 2 tires were working.
We didn't see much fall off in that first 30-lap run, Andy, from the fastest lap to what Matt Kenseth was still running at the end. So good tires.
Yeah, after looking at that, I would have, if I'd have been Jeff Gordon's crew, maybe taken advantage of that because he was kind of mired back into the mid-20s, and then he had that little hiccup getting into his pit stall.
Yeah, as you see Carl Edwards now take that spot from Jeff Burton. I think the other thing that Gordon was doing also, when you're that far back in the pack, early on, that many cars on the lead lap, I think they expected a lot of teams maybe to take 2 tires. You can see Gordon was pretty cautious going in there too, thinking that maybe McMurray was going to pull out if he was just changing 2 tires.
Jeff Burton really had to back up turns 1 and 2 a minute ago with Carl Edwards on his bumper. Here is 3rd place, Greg Biffle on the move in the 16.
Yeah, this looks like the best car so far today. And he didn't start up front, so we didn't see him lead laps, but I think you're going to see him leading here before too long.
3rd Third place, left side of the screen, the one car of Jamie McMurray. That's the 8th place race on the right side.
It's been 33 races since Greg Biffle has won, so you know he's hungry.
David Reagan in the 6th there in the picture. And for the lead, the Busch brothers. Younger brother Kyle, pursued by older brother Kurt. Kurt's got a doubleheader on tap today. Daytime race, nighttime at Wrigley Field. Hosting a group, Kurt, a big Cubs fan, hosting a group of people on one of the rooftops at Wrigley Field for the Cubs-Brewers game later tonight.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun if you won this race and have to go over there then. Not have to, want to go.
Doing all
Cubs fan.
Doing all that goes with winning might make you a little late, but he'd be okay with that?
I think so.
Kyle Busch running second after the strategy, Vince.
With Dave Rogers. Dave, what was the thought process behind the two-tire change?
Well, track position's so important here. It's early in the race. It's a good time to see if two tires are going to work out for later on in the race. So, let's see. I want to try it early so I know what to do late.
Thanks, Dave. Al?
There you go, Andy.
Well, he kind of performed that experiment in front of everybody else, though. They're all going to get to see how it works.
.42 Montoya, 14 Stewart, 43 Allmendinger. Stewart trying to pick his way up from his mid-pack starting spot.
Oh, man, that was
Truex really sideways right there.
56 car.
At the speeds they're running around here, this fast track, that gets your attention in a hurry. Take you a lap or two to be going quite as fast as what you were before that, which obviously was a little bit fast.
There is Truex, now racing with Denny Hamlin in the 11 for 26th place.
Jeff Gordon all the way back to 29th. Here's second place, swapping hands. Biffle's still on the move.
Yeah, Biffle made a charge in that first run, as you pointed out, Andy, but then he kind of leveled off and actually started losing just a little bit to Kurt Busch and Matt Kenseth at that time. We'll see if an adjustment they might have made on this car will make this a better car in the longer run now.
With an update on Greg Biffle, Jamie?
Well, I talked to Matt Fuchsia, his crew chief, yesterday morning, and he was really excited about this car, especially on the long runs. They really focused on that in practices on Friday. Now, as far as Greg Biffle in the car right now, he said this car is bad fast, and they ended up not making any adjustments, DJ. They just went for 4 tires and fuel. That's how good the car is.
Well, let the conditions come to you, but as the day goes on, the conditions may change, and you got to be all over it.
Yeah, you just have to be ready for that. And of course, Greg Biffle's great at giving feedback, and we know that he's getting everything out of it every single lap.
And I say that about conditions may change because the sky's getting a little brighter around us, and if that sun should happen to pop out, this will be a whole different racetrack.
Yeah, the way this track is rubbered in, as you pointed out, that's going to be the biggest factor here today is if that sun pops out, then this racetrack changes dramatically.
See contact there. Kenseth with the big slide off turn 4 into Kyle Busch. So the right side's only strategy for the 18. Restarting in the lead. Right now he's running in third and racing for 4th with Kenseth. Early in the going here at Chicagoland Speedway, not quite 100 miles into the Geico 400. Kurt Busch is the race leader.
So easy, even a caveman could do it. Gentlemen, start your engine!
And done with style, I might add, here at the Geico 400 at Chicagoland Speedway. Just down the road from the Windy City, where the Cubs and Brewers will play later tonight, where the Blackhawks opened training camp over the past week or so, and where the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup is opening with this first of 10 races. Kurt Busch is the race leader so far. We take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Fastest speed of this race, fastest lap, has been turned by Carl Edwards so far, topping 179 miles an hour. Edwards running in 7th position. Jimmy Johnson holding the record here for the fastest qualifying lap that a few years back. And as far as somebody who is on the move in this race, Kevin Harvick, since the restart, has gobbled up 14 positions just since we went back racing at lap 35 20 laps ago. Harvick winning this race in 2002 from 32nd on the grid. Get closer to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with unlimited access to highlights, news, and more. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Quickly, almost 100 miles into today's 400-miler at Chicagoland Speedway. Kurt Busch out in front. Took the lead just after that last restart from his brother Kyle Busch, who took just right-side tires on the only pit stop of the race. Kyle now running in 3rd position. Greg Biffle 2nd. And there's Matt Kenseth in the 17, who started on pole, led a lot of the early laps of this race, trying to creep a little closer to the front.
I think this experiment on the 18, though, was a success because he has maintained track position, was able to run fast right off the bat on the restart. You see him, they're actually creeping back up to the back bumper of the 16 car. Doc?
Yeah, he is able to make a move now, Andy. And the issue before the pit stop for Matt Kenseth was, he said he was tight on entry. The first third of the turn corner was tight. They were going to make an air pressure change in the right front, a track bar adjustment, and some tape. He said, now here's the problem. If we fix the entry, you're going to hurt my exit. My exit's been really good. Make me really tight off, or maybe free off, I should say. And you saw him slide a moment ago. And now the track has come to him. He seems to be doing much better. Vince.
Kyle Busch, you heard crew chief Dave Rogers say if they're going to gamble, they want to gamble on the 2 tires early. He doesn't feel like they're going to lose on time, but the tires' grip goes away, and that's where they're going to struggle the most. And Kyle just said he needs a little help off since the 2-tire change. He's felt the car hasn't been in the track quite as much as it had been on the initial stint.
Vince, Docs, thank you. Those the 2 drivers who took just the right sides on the competition caution and where they're running now after where they restarted. So you deem that first one a success. What about the second one?
Well, you have to look at where was Jeff Burton when he made the pit stop, and if he's netted out a few spots from that, then I think it would be a success.
Yes, he was 26.
Yeah, so there you go. It was a success for both cars.
Netted 13 positions so far in this run. Now, Jeff Gordon showed you how he lost a few positions getting to his pit stall on the last run. Doc, he hasn't gone anywhere since then.
He really hasn't, AB. He began today 23rd, dropped back initially, began to make a move toward the front, and then he said he couldn't get the car pointed. He said, if I get the car pointed in the corner, I can pass people, but the car is so tight it wouldn't point. They pitted, air pressure change, track bar change, and now here's what he's got to say.
I don't know what happened. My valve velocity going into 1. Overheat the right rear, or just have to try to come back. I got no rear grip getting into the center, sliding it back in around. It's tight when I go to the throttle.
So what Alan Gustafson has done is try to be able to help him get the car pointed or turned in the middle of the corner, but as you heard Jeff say a moment ago on the radio, they've killed the rear grip. Alan said, don't worry, buddy, we'll fix it when you come in. Just hang on for now. And right now, he's stuck back in about 26th spot.
You know, I touched on this earlier about Jeff Gordon. He was back there. He was actually in front of Jeff Burton before that caution came out. I kind of expected that team to do that 2-tire strategy and try to get Jeff up front, because I think just getting mired back, they started in the mid-20s, and now they had really not moved forward. It would have been a good opportunity for this team to try to move forward. So you see that, you know, with Jeff running 13th, it was a net gain for that team.
So Gordon mired deep in the field for now as you look at a race for 4th. Paul Menard diving underneath Kyle Busch.
See Kyle make a big run up on the high side. Paul Menard not able to make that, complete that pass. And this will be kind of from the point forward now. How much grip is Kyle Busch with these 2 tires going to lose? How much is he going to slow down? Will he lose any more spots? Because this is whenever the tires are really getting worn, especially those left sides that now have over 60 laps on them.
And Menard looking like he might be able to slide up in front of Kyle there and finish that pass. He does, so Menard up in a 4th spot. Kyle Busch to 5th, and Ryan Newman creeping in on them in 6th. All going on behind Kurt Busch. Got a 2-second lead on Greg Biffle out in front as we close in on the 100-mile mark. And another round of green flag pit stops in the Geico 400 at Chicagoland.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Geico 400 at Chicago is brought to you by Nationwide Insurance. Enter this code at CodeSpotter.com for a chance to win one-of-a-kind NASCAR VIP experiences. And Bush's Baked Beans. Are you ready for game day? You are with a guaranteed crowd pleaser, Bush's Baked Beans.
Second caution is out of the Geico 400 for debris in turn number 2. Kurt Busch, the race leader, there at the start-finish line, not yet picked up by the pace car. Just before the caution flag, a couple of cars on pit road under the green. This could turn into a break for them, depending on how things cycle out.
Well, we were about 10 laps away from scheduled green flag stops when that came out. Saw some cars, like I said, pitting early. Don't know if they had maybe a loose wheel or a flat tire.
Casey Mears, David Ruderman, Jeff Burton, Casey Kane will follow up on that in just a minute. It was from pit road information, a flat tire on the 00 car. So again, after all this cycles out, we'll see whether he ends up on the lead lap or 1 lap down, because he was slow on the track for a good 2/3 of a lap before he even got to pit road. Well, on the Kyle Busch and Jeff Burton, well, Jeff Burton just pitted under green. On the Kyle Busch cycle, Andy, 5th place at the caution.
That was definitely a net gain. So, they'll get 4 here and put that in the bank for later.
And the pit road should be open this time for the lead lap cars. And here they come. Greg Biffle should get to his pit stall quickest of those front runners, Jamie.
That's right, Greg Biffle making his way down on the upper left-hand side. He said his car is actually tightened up a little bit. Remember, they didn't make any adjustments that first stop. Air pressure adjustment is it. 4 tires and fuel. Vince?
Kyle Busch, remember, took 2 tires the first time. They're going to take 4 tires this time. He needs a little more rear grip. Also going a half round down in the left rear. Dave?
Leader Kurt Busch wanted a smidgen of air out of the left rear tire, but his crew chief knew that the circumference of these tires would help the car turn a little better. No change in stock.
Matt Kenseth hitting the splitter a little bit. They're going to put the air pressure back in the right foot. Tiny air pressure adjustment, track bar adjustment, race off, and Biffle will beat Kenseth, but Kurt Busch beats them all.
Nice gain by Jimmy Johnson's team there as well. Up to 6th position, a pit crew that's been under a lot of focus through the course of the year. But Kurt Busch's team holds the lead here at Chicagoland Speedway. Just ordinary day for Steve Addington. On ESPN's Monday Night Football tonight, second-year quarterback Sam Bradford leads the St. Louis Rams into MetLife Stadium, where they'll face Eli Manning and the Giants. It's Rams-Giants on Monday Night Football at 8:30 Eastern, also streaming live on WatchESPN.com and the Watch ESPN app. Coverage starting at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's. Good finish to a good weekend of football. Trying to finish up an extended weekend of racing today with the Monday matinee at Chicagoland Speedway. About to wrap up the second caution of the race. That caution giving the 32 car of Mike Bliss the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. He was the first driver a lap down, and he will come back around now in 30th position and be on the lead lap. David Ruderman, Casey Mears, Jeff Burton, who had stopped under the green just before the caution, all taking a wave around. Casey Kane speeding, exiting pit road on his green flag stop a minute ago. And we come to this green flag restart presented by American Ethanol. Hang on there. A little feisty in the middle of the pack.
Time to go. Yeah, that's such a hard corner. You're wanting to go run through there almost wide open as you try to get up to speed. You've got your air pressures down in a rough racetrack. Makes it pretty exciting.
Second place, Matt Kenseth, 17. Greg Biffle, 16. pretty thick swarm behind him. There's that 48 car. Jimmy Johnson saw the great job his pit crew did in helping him gain some spots. That's to cap off a run of picking up some positions in that last green flag stretch we had for the 48.
Yeah, you put all those things together, that's how you move forward.
That's for 5th and 4th positions there.
I think we're starting to see that, especially on the fresh tires, that the bottom side of the racetrack is going to be the quicker way around for at least probably the first 5-6 laps.
18-car Kyle Busch, last one in that little group in the frame there, had some troubles on his pit stop, lost a few spots. And now they've got a little bit of ground to make up. '39, Ryan Newman. They've been steady. They've been consistent. Can they be spectacular enough to win this championship over these 10 races? Possible trouble being reported on Denny Hamlin's car, Dave?
Alan, when the spotter says get ready before the green, that's a good thing. That gets the driver pumped up. When the driver says get ready, that's not necessarily a good thing. He's got a vibration right now. Denny says we may have left a wheel loose. Boys, get ready on pit road. I may have to come down.
Now keep an eye on that for us, Dave. There's second place. Carl Edwards moving forward. 99 driver with, we talked about mile-and-a-half tracks earlier. The best record this season of the races on the mile-and-a-half tracks is Edwards in that 99.
And he's trying to chase down the driver that's the only driver to finish in the top 10 in all the mile-and-a-half tracks, and that's Kurt Busch, our leader.
A little farther back, Kevin Harvick, 29. Marcos Ambrose in the 9, and Tony Stewart in the 14. Some of the guys that started deeper in the field that as the races worked past its quarter mark are chipping their way forward. Stewart started back in 26th position. Vince, right now he's up there in 12th.
Yeah, the car's starting to work a little better. They made good adjustments on both the first and second stops that have helped Tony Stewart's race car. And Stewart may be the only guy that was really kind of glad they didn't race yesterday. He had a bad migraine yesterday. He said it finally broke late last night, and he got a much-needed good night's sleep. I can tell you, seeing him yesterday, he was not comfortable at all. Looked much better before the race today. And Stewart's getting after it here in the early going in Chicagoland.
Running these kind of speeds with this much at stake, not feeling well, can't be a good thing.
No, it's never fun. You know, there are days that you just have to kind of suck it up and go on, and he would have been there and doing what he had to, but nice that that's all gone away. Tony's feeling good and running good.
Well, you see in the picture there in the in-car, he's using that big steering wheel. He's one of those old-school guys that still uses a lot bigger wheel than most.
Psychology of a championship. Jimmy Johnson, solid this season, not spectacular, right? Just the one win so far. If he can win this race today, starting the chase for a 6th consecutive championship, you want to talk about getting into people's heads?
Yeah, he's well on his way. He's running awful good this run. He's just tracking down Matt Kenseth. We can take that 3rd spot away. Looks like he might get it here.
Yeah, use that high line up in 1 and 2 there to get a nice run. You can see made that straightaway longer and able to make the pass for 3rd now. Jamie, what are they saying about Jimmy?
Easy to say this 48 team knows how to race once the chase begins. He started 12th today and fell back to 15th. After the first round of stops, some good adjustments. He was a little bit free, but he moved up 6 spots. After this last round of stops, they made more adjustments. A little wedge, 4 tires, and he is going to the front. It was a great stop. He gained 3 positions. The car is good. Dave?
Jamie, Denny Hamlin couldn't stand it anymore. He's got to come down pit road now and get those 4 tires changed. Not sure exactly which one might be loose, which one would be causing the vibration, but they'll change all 4 at this point just to be sure. Andy, you've always been a fan of that move versus just trying to predict which side and only changing 2.
Well, if you change all 4, you got a 100% chance of getting the one that's loose.
Yeah, playing the odds
That's
there.
right.
Yeah. So Denny drops from 18th. And we'll see where he cycles out. He is a lap down now as he gets back up to speed. Going to be at least 32nd for Denny Hamlin at the moment.
Yeah, we talk about no mistakes, and that's the kind of thing, if indeed that was the case there, that a wheel was left loose, the kind of things that you just can't have happen in this 10-race format. You just get so far behind, makes it difficult to make up.
And we'll update Hamlin now 37th. And the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7th car, one lap down.
I see Stewart going forward now, and he's got that 29 car of Harvick tracking him to the front. Like I said, they're both using those different lines, but they're both working real well.
Yeah, and the thing that I see with Tony is he's able to utilize both the lanes. He can make passes on the bottom. His car gets to the center and back to the throttle really good. If he has to, somebody on the bottom, then he can go to that middle or top groove and make a nice run too. It's like a really solid car for Smoke right now.
Since the restart, up 8 spots for Tony. Definitely qualifies as moving forward. Harvick there taking a spot for McMurray. And since the start of the race for Kevin Harvick, took the green flag in 30th position. He just cracked the top 10.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people after Friday's practice talk about Kevin Harvick and looked like his car was really solid in longer run type situations. So it's not surprising to see him moving up there inside the top 10 now.
When they first built the Chicagoland racetrack and opened it for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series in 2001, the fresh pavement, the new design of the racetrack, there was basically one lane around here, right at the bottom. Now you see how the aging of the pavement has allowed these drivers to run side by side and all over this racetrack. And the last several years here, we've seen some really good racing.
Yeah, we see Greg Biffle here once again struggle a bit. I know that they said that he didn't make any changes on this race car, but they're going to have to make a change because this car, after you get past about 15, 18 laps, isn't as good. He starts losing some time sliding around. I don't know exactly the condition of it, if it's a tight or loose situation, but they're going to have to adjust a little bit.
You got the sun coming out too, guys, so this is going to change this racetrack. The cars that have been loose probably be looser. The cars that are tight, it'll probably make them tighter.
Yeah, and I'd have to say it would favor a guy that just moved inside the top 10 in ninth, and that would be Tony Stewart. He was telling me the other day he was hoping that the temperature might be a little higher than what they were predicting, some sunshine. He wanted a slick racetrack.
Sun shining on turn 4 for the moment. The day shining on Kurt Busch, the leader, but that 99 car, Carl Edwards, starting to track him down and close in. Race fans, check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy to watch coverage live from Chicago. Follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. You can follow that next week as well, or our live ESPN coverage when the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series heads to New Hampshire, the Magic Mile. We begin next Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN with NASCAR Countdown presented by Napa. New Hampshire, a racetrack where Kyle Busch has shown the type of racetrack where he's been the strongest this season. But, of course, Jimmy Johnson and others aren't going to give it to him. And that is Sunday on ESPN. Greg Biffle was running 5th a minute ago. Then he came down pit road for an unscheduled green flag stop, and now he's running 35th a lap down.
Thought he had a flat tire, said it was the right front. He's slowing down to pit road speed, and he grinds the left front tire down pretty good. You can see the tire changers. They're under green. Tire changer says, nope, the tire is not flat on the right front. Jamie?
So something was going on with the front end, Andy, and when he came in, he locked it up. Look at this tire. It has a huge bubble in it. I just asked the Goodyear guys. They said, we've never seen such a thing. You see the cords here. He's coming back down on pit road. They think that they either have a broken shock or the radiator pan was dragging on it. So this car was really good, guys. Now the 16 having some issues.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that tire. I think he did that trying to get down to pit road speed and not lose too much time. That other issue, what made him come to pit road is what would worry me.
A broken shock at these speeds at this track would not be a good thing. Well, Carl Edwards is tracking down Kurt Busch. He closed, lost a little ground, sliding off turn 4 a couple of times. Now he's tracking him down again.
And I think we'll probably see Carl Edwards try to get in a little bit of more clean air this time. Seemed the last time that he ran him down, he was right in behind Kurt Busch. That's whenever he kind of lost the front end. Very sensitive arrow with the speeds they're running here.
Talked about the sun coming out, maybe changing track conditions. This on Carl's radio a minute ago.
Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun.
Who said Bob Osborne doesn't have a sense of humor?
Little Beatles from the pit box for the.
I think Carl's loosened him up a little bit.
He had to pass Made there. I'm not sure he's going to. No, he lost too much momentum.
They're caught there by the Dave Blaney car that they were putting down a second lap back in 37th place. So now he's got to regroup and try again for Carl.
He had done everything perfect and got in the right spot. Was going to be able to make that pass off of turn 2. To go back at it here, which doesn't look like it's going to be a problem. I think Carl's going to like the sun coming out too. A slick racetrack works to his advantage also.
It's got to be fun, middle of the race. You don't have anybody pushing these two guys, so they can race each other as hard as they want. And, you're not going to take any chances, but it's got to be a lot of fun racing like this.
Well, it is fun, and this gives you an idea of what you can be able to do later, where your car might be a little bit better. And even though Carl has run Kurt Busch down, there may have been points there that he said, hey, this is where Kurt Busch is a little better than I am, but obviously I'm better than him in some other fast spots, as you see him take the lead now.
You led that lap. We got that lap.
Bonus point toward the championship for Carl Edwards. So Kurt Busch giving up the lead in the Penske 22. The other Penske car, the 2 of Brad Keselowski, also one of the championship contenders, about to give up a spot to Dale Earnhardt Jr.
He's not having the best day, but he's decent. And Dale Jr. is actually having a pretty good day. But what's happened with this 2 car, Vince?
You know, these guys have always been better at the tracks they've gone to for a second time. Well, this is their first time here at Chicagoland Speedway for the combination of Brad Keselowski and crew chief Paul Wolf, and they're struggling a bit.
I just have to let these guys go. I can't even drive my car with this rear bar on. This is not my car. I don't want it, don't need it, can't use it, can't race with it. Don't put it on my car. That's what you need to do right now. It's on there for now. Get your head in the game. We're going to get the best finish we can.
Now, that was the radio communication prior to that lap 71 pit stop. Not much has changed after they made a chassis adjustment. Keselowski says it's still very unconnected with the rear of the car on exit of the turns.
A lot of experience in this chase field for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. A lot of also combinations, driver crew chiefs with their first go at it. And Paul Wolf and Brad Keselowski, they've been the freshman phenoms so far this year, or what Dickie V call them, diaper dandies in racing terms, or in basketball terms.
Yeah, they certainly have a good working relationship and have made it pay off on the racetrack, but there are some drivers that just don't like that feel of what a rear bar does to the race car. It's a good tool to use sometimes, Andy, but you got to give the driver what he wants in the end.
On paper, some of those rear bars really work well. I mean, the simulations will show that they make more speed, they hold the attitude better. There's a lot of things they do well, but some drivers, like you said, they'll just do not like that feel, and so I wouldn't try to force it on them if they didn't like it.
So we're a little bit away from, well, actually not all that far away from another round of green flag pit stops. We're just past 150 miles in this race. Carl Edwards is out in front. Proud to advance forward. The next step in our ESPN coverage of NASCAR racing, NASCAR Nonstop. We're in the second half of all these Chase for the Sprint Cup races. You won't miss a moment of action. NASCAR Nonstop, presented proudly by Sprint. Here we go. As you saw in our NASCAR Nonstop presented by Sprint, Jimmy Johnson, 48, taking second place from Kurt Busch in the 22. And a round of green flag pit stops has begun. Dale Jr.'s in, Jamie.
They made some fundamental changes to the front end of this race car to make it handle differently starting at this race on out. No adjustments last stop. Dale Jr. has been happy with this car as he's made his way through the field.
Jamie McMurray, right side of the screen. Part of a pile of them on pit road. Kevin Harvick, Tony Stewart, Jeff Burton, Denny Hamlin, and more. Vince?
The 14 of Tony Stewart has been good and getting better. He says it's still a tiny bit tight in the center, but otherwise rock solid. A slight air pressure adjustment. Doc.
4 tires for Kevin Harvick. Harvick said the car's getting better and better. He started back in 30th spot, has driven into the top 10. Jamie.
And Carl Edwards brought a brand new race car this week, and he said he wants a little bit more of that wedge, but not as much as last stop. Another great stop. They gained a couple spots last time around, Dave.
Kurt Busch will now get that left rear air pressure, just a smidgen out of the left rear. 4 tire change for the guy who has led the most today so far. And he hopefully will have that car turning a little bit better with that left rear air pressure change. Trying to clean the front grille, Jamie.
And Jimmy Johnson said he's just a little bit tight getting into one. He makes his pit stop. He had to go around 1 car as they work on the right-hand side. Filling up with Sunoco fuel. 4 tires for Jimmy Johnson. They have been making some wedge adjustments today. I did not see a wrench go in the rear window this time around. Tear up on the front windshield, and he's down and away, Doc.
Much better for Matt Kenseth. They had pulled his shim out of the right front, put the air pressure back in the right rear, changed the right front back, and now it's chassis adjustment. 4 tires for the pole sitter. Kenseth trying to get it full of fuel, down and away less than 13 seconds.
Ryan Newman got to lead a lap of the 39 car. That's important if you're in the chase. Alan mentioned it earlier. That's a point. You can win the championship by a point. His car right now just a little bit snug. They'll make an air pressure change. They'll take the same thing Kurt Busch did, air out of the left rear tire. That'll help the car rotate through the corner better for Ryan Newman.
Jimmy Johnson and Newman both leading for those bonus points under this cycle of pit stops. And as things cycle back around, it will be Carl Edwards holding the lead through the set of pit stops. But for second place, there's a little company there. Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson racing for it, 22 and 48.
Well, they said they were going to play nice. We'll see how long that lasts here.
Now, in NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Sprint, you saw Jeff Gordon on pit road kind of early. This green flag cycle of pit stops has helped him a little bit. But Gordon gave up 17th position on the pit stop for what, Doc?
Well, he thought he had a right front tire going down, Alan, and he said, remember he heard him say on the radio, the car's been good for 20 laps, and now we're aero tight, it won't turn in the corner. Well, here's what he came down and saw. They took this right front tire, and look, it's down to the cords, pieces of cord sticking out here. It was actually almost cut on the inside shoulder, so Jeff was probably just a few laps away from having a major problem, possibly cutting it all the way through and popping the wall. Now, the good news is, talking to the Goodyear engineers, the right front tire looked fine on the first stop. They really don't know what happened other than the fact that he just wore out the inside shoulder, and Jeff got very fortunate by coming down when he did.
Well, that run right there for Gordon was longer than that 30-lap run we had initially, so that kind of pushed the issue. And we saw quite a few cars pit. After he made this stop, we saw everybody come down pit road.
And watch from Jeff Gordon to Carl Edwards by the race staying green through green flag pit stops. He's on the lead lap, but barely.
Yeah, he is, but the only thing I would caution is that he ran his best in that last run, was running faster. So is that a situation that they're going to encounter again because of some adjustments they've made on this car?
And the fight for second still. Remember last weekend at Richmond in the race where Kurt Busch made contact with Jimmy Johnson while racing for a position. Johnson came back and paid Busch back later in the race. The latest in a series of confrontations they've had after it was over. They had a conversation. They shook hands. Both drivers coming to Chicagoland this weekend and saying, it's over.
Yeah, and they know they can't be wrecking each other, and either one of them have a chance at winning this championship. So you're not going to see anything here today. Now, what may happen 5 or 6 races into this chase, and one of them a little outside of it, and they get to racing, we'll have to wait and see.
You're the racer, not me, but I always kind of think that it's over lasts until one of them bumps into the other one the first time, and then it's on.
Yeah, probably the likelihood is going to be somewhere more in a Loudon situation next week where the racing's tight, Martinsville, something like that.
Kurt Busch running third, Dave.
And so far, just focused on his race and his race car. Here's his radio right before the round of pit stops.
No real hints of loose off other than just tight with the 2 front tires. Hey, check one. The car's just generating way too much tight like that, but you got to believe me when I tell you.
All right, crew chief Andy, take all that information. He was out front, so what would you do with that? Remember the first time they didn't make any changes. The stagger in the tires was helping them. This time they did remove air pressure from the left rear.
Yeah, that Scotia of air pressure that they took out, or was it a smidgen, Dave? But anyway, that's what he's saying right there. Is it's hard to adjust a race car when you're leading because you're leading because you think you got the fastest car. But when the driver is telling you that we need to work on it, even when he is leading, you need to listen to him and do what he's telling you because he's the guy that's taking all this data in and he knows what he's got.
While we were focusing on Kurt Busch and Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards did catch and put Jeff Gordon a lap down. And here's Greg Biffle back on pit road again, Jamie.
Well, he said the lap times they're pretty happy with, but something is definitely not right underneath the race car. It's allowing air to come up underneath and creating drag, so he's fallen off a little bit. They don't have time to assess exactly what is going on, so they're making a track bar adjustment now, a shim adjustment, and putting four fresh new tires on there for Greg Biffle. He's down and away. Alan?
Not with us earlier, Greg Biffle gave up 5th position for a green flag pit stop at lap 92. Went all the way back to 35th. The race stayed green. He cycled back up. Now he's on the pit lane again on the green and off cycle with all the other front runners.
We're on board here where we're with Tony Stewart, who has now moved up into that 5th spot. It's going to be somebody to keep our eye on the rest of the day.
There's a couple of cars I'm watching. Tony Stewart definitely one of them. Another one's Kevin Harvick. I noticed Kevin a lot of times at the latter part of the race. Where did he come from? So today I'm keeping an eye on him, and he's been moving his way forward also.
That's 4th position now for Stewart after completing the pass on Matt Kenseth. And again, remember, Tony started mid-pack in that 14 car, started in 26th. Kyle Busch, 18, Ryan Newman, 39, 6th and 7th places. And cloud cover has come over the speedway again, the ever-changing track conditions for these drivers and teams to try and figure out. Complicated puzzle.
Condition all day long.
Yep.
This guy's doing it pretty good.
So after a cycle of green flag pit stops, Carl Edwards out in front of Jimmy Johnson by 2.5 seconds. We go NASCAR nonstop from Chicagoland, presented by Sprint. Carl Edwards leading as we cross the halfway point of today's Geico 400 at the Chicagoland Speedway. The gap to second place Jimmy Johnson has closed just a little bit. Tonight on ESPN's Monday Night Football, second-year quarterback Sam Bradford leading the St. Louis Rams into MetLife Stadium where they'll take on Eli Manning and the New York Giants. It's Rams-Giants on ESPN's Monday Night Football, 8:30 Eastern, also streaming live on WatchESPN.com and the Watch ESPN app. Coverage starts at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's. Goodyear supporting our telecast coverage today from high above the Chicagoland Speedway, and Goodyear and NASCAR asking you to join in and helping to support our troops. That on the sidewall of every tire in the field in today's race. More information on the Support Our Troops program can be found at Goodyear.com/supportourtroops. Nice program where their tires involved in today's race are going to be autographed and sold off with the money going to the Support Our Troops program, helping out families of those who are overseas serving our country. Matt Kenseth, the pole sitter and early leader of this race. Kyle Busch racing for 5th and 6th positions. Busch in the 18, Kenseth in the 17. Kyle, the number 1 seed coming into this championship.
Yeah, and making a nice run back forward on this run, too. Looks like his car is really good and solid, especially as they get some laps on the tires. Not quite as fast on the fresh tires as what we normally see Kyle Busch.
As you see across the ticker top of the screen, the drivers in the chase for the Sprint Cup highlighted in yellow. Top 8 are all chasers and 9 of the first 11. Let's face it, they got into this championship by finishing up front more than everybody for most of this season. Let's catch you up on what some of them are saying about their cars and their race so far. We go up to speed, beginning with the leader, Carl Edwards, and Jamie Little.
Well, Alan, before this race, we've had 6.5-mile track races this year. Carl Edwards has had the best average, 5.8. I talked to Bob Osborne, his crew chief. He said, we are done testing out equipment. We are here to race. We are here to win, and we want to win the championship. This car has been good today. They made the right adjustments. Now, though, with the cloud cover, he has gotten a little bit loose. Behind him, Jimmy Johnson. The car started out loose earlier. Now it's tightened up. They made a track bar adjustment on the last round of pit stops. Something interesting. This is one of only 5 tracks Jimmy Johnson has never won at in the Cup Series. His one and only Nationwide Series win came right here, way back in 2001. Dave.
Jamie, in the early part of the race, Kurt Busch's car was the class of the field, leading 63 laps. Interesting that they worked on ride quality this weekend. If you've ever been in one of these cars, you know how rough it is, but to get through the bumps gives you a better read on the tires and a better feeling race car. And that was their big issue. Right now, just sliding the tires a little bit for Kurt. Vince?
Tony Stewart is having a heck of a day. He started 26th, but crew chief Darian Grubb has made some great changes to this race car through the first 3 stops, and Stewart has picked up 22 positions today. Grubb says he feels like they're a sleeper in this chase. Many are counting them out because they haven't gotten any wins, but they've had a handful slip through their fingers. They feel like they're making gains on it, and it's showing today. The 18 of Kyle Busch. Remember, he made that 2-tire change on the first stop, and that allowed them to gain some track position, but uncharacteristically, they've made a couple of mistakes on pit road. They had a chassis wrench fall on their second stop. Kyle overshot his pit box on the third stop. On the track, they're pretty good. It's a little too free. They'll make a wedge adjustment next time. Dave?
Ryan Newman started the day 4th. He runs in the 6th position right now. Interesting, his boss wants to be the sleeper. This team says they want to be the underdog. Nobody expects us to win, they have said. Today so far, the car just a little bit difficult to turn. They've been making small steps to try to free it up, and Newman is trying to make progress forward. Doc?
Pole center Matt Kenseth led the first 30 laps and said the car got tight entering the corner. They made an adjustment that it hurt him off, made him loose off. After a couple more pit stops, now Matt said the car is plowing tight and chattering the tires. They will make an air pressure and wedge adjustment on the next stop. Behind him, how about the move for Kevin Harvick? He said he made a mistake in qualifying, hit the apron, started way back in 30th spot, and now he is battling Matt Kenseth to try to take the 7th spot away. Up 22 positions for Harvick, who was a 2-time winner here, as he makes the pass. Behind these two is the 1 car of Jamie McMurray. Not in the chase, but Jamie needs to win a race. He won 3 a year ago, and here in Chicago, very important, the world headquarters of his sponsor. Right now, Jamie complaining the car tight in the middle. Dave.
Paul Menard started the day on the front row, part of that all-Wisconsin front row for the first time in Sprint Cup. His car's been mostly loose today. They've talked about taking a bigger swing at it next time. Crew Chief Slugger Labby saying, let's wedge it up next time maybe. Paul's thinking about it. Vince?
Brad Keselowski, maybe the surprise in the chase this year. He's got 2 wins and 4 top 5s in the last 6 races, but they didn't get off to a good start today, and Brad was upset about it. He let his crew chief know about it, but since then the car has gotten a little bit better, and we've got a caution on the track.
Believe I heard the call was for debris on the back straightaway for this, and it'll be the 3rd caution of the race. Lap 145 of 267, about 225 miles into this 400-miler. Been caution-free since lap 70, so a little bit of a regroup moment here for these drivers and teams.
A welcome change for a lot of these guys that are really needing to make some adjustments on their race cars and give themselves a better chance here.
See that 31 car of Jeff Burton is the first car behind leader Carl Edwards. Burton going to get the Lucky Dog free pass here. Cycle himself back around onto the lead lap. Jeff is in 21st position. Trapped a lap down by this cycle are going to be Jeff Gordon. And trapped 2 laps down, Denny Hamlin. After both have had some troubles that brought them to pit road off schedule earlier in this race. Pit crew's going to go to work. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award, currently being led by Kevin Harvick's team. You can help determine the standings. Vote from your AT&T phone by texting the car number to 234-567 for the pit crew you think is the fastest and most valuable. Carl Edwards hits first, Jamie.
pit crews have their work cut out for them as these clouds are coming and going. Carl Edwards saying he just wants a little bit of a wedge adjustment, not as much as before. Air pressure adjustment said the car has freed up. Now down below on the left-hand side, Jimmy Johnson, they're going to go up on the track bar once again. 4 tires, fill it up with fuel. He said his car got a little bit tight, Vince.
For Tony Stewart, entry and exit really good. A little snug in the center, but no changes. 4 tires for Tony. Dave?
Kurt Busch has fallen to third. Air pressure adjustment this time to try to get him to lead back again. Doc?
Kansas plowing tight, air pressure back in. Wedge out. He's down and away. Got a good pit stop, but he will be beaten off pit road by a handful of cars, guys.
Ryan Newman's team. Right sides only. Strategy call going to get them to the top of the stack in the middle stages of today's Geico 400. Working caution for the 3rd time in this race. Time to go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Sprint. Little action on pit road under this caution in our NASCAR nonstop presented by Sprint as we work the middle stages of today's Geico 400 at Chicagoland Speedway. Our Dodge race rundown. What's happened so far? Well, we were supposed to be running this race on a Sunday afternoon. Didn't look so pretty here Sunday afternoon and evening. But Monday, Mother Nature has allowed, and we went green just after 11 a.m. local time. Jeff Gordon has been one of those with not quite the day he was hoping for. First had to dodge a tire on a pit stop, and then he's had a couple of other problems.
It's probably the biggest issue for Jeff Gordon. He's having problems with that right front tire wearing out on the inside edge. It may be something they have to address before this race is over.
Matt Kenseth, Kyle Busch, little contact. Everybody got away okay. Kurt Busch, you're looking from Kevin Harvick into his pit stall. This has been let's just call it an ongoing conversation on pit road between those two. Denny Hamlin, the other championship guy, with some troubles.
Yeah, he thought he had a loose wheel, came in, got a lap down there, and then has been lapped on the racetrack since then.
Starting in the back, charging to the front, Tony Stewart, Kevin Harvick. Harvick started 30th. Stewart started 26th. Stewart's running 4th. Harvick is running 7th as we get close to the restart of this race. Stewart is our in-race reporter.
Hey, Tony, Dale Jarrett, you have a copy?
Yep.
All right, buddy, I know you're coming to 1 to go, but looks like you've got you a pretty fast race car there today.
Yeah, we stay away from some of these idiots out here. We'll be fine, but there's a lot of guys racing every lap like it's the last lap, so pretty much have adopted the same attitude. If that's the way they're going to race, that's the way we're going to race.
Much change in the racetrack from the start to now, Tony?
As you can see right now on the upper half where nobody's rolled around here on the caution, it's got a lot of rubber, so it lays it down pretty quick, but it's been pretty racy. Guys are kind of all over the place. You can run top, middle, or bottom right now, so it's nice to have that flexibility.
All right, man. Thanks for talking with us. Good luck.
Bye, bud.
Interesting there about the intensity of the racing today from Tony's perspective. Now, Kyle Busch was running 5th coming down pit road. We're looking pretty deep in the pack to find him here running 19th for this restart, Vince.
Alan, it has been a tough day for this 18 crew, arguably the best over-the-wall crew on pit road, but they have had 3 straight stops where they've had an issue. They had a wrench fall on the ground, they overshot the pit box, they had a slow stop on the left rear last time. Finally, crew chief Dave Rogers came over the radio after the last stop and said, guys, this is a character test. Everybody take a deep breath. Dave Rogers just telling me yesterday, he said, I think my crew is awesome. They haven't been that way today, Alan.
And it's so uncharacteristic of that team. They're so good on pit road. Might be nerves. This first race of the chase. A lot of pressure.
Remember, Ryan Newman changed just right side tires on that pit stop. 39 car with a lead. Here is a challenge to the outside. Tony Stewart. Talk about aggressive.
Well, see, he apparently told us yet he was going to get like him now.
He said he was going to go after him.
Smoke the second. Stewart Haas Racing cars running 1-2 side by side for 3rd. Johnson 48, Edwards 99.
Oh, look, a sleeping giant right there with Tony Stewart.
Told you guys I wasn't kidding.
He wasn't kidding.
Harvick had to chase it there a little bit, up off that bottom line, the red and white car.
Yeah, really got him jammed up there. Jamie Murray did a nice job of staying off of Paul Menard and not creating a problem. See Kurt Busch going by Carl Edwards now.
Truex had a little run there, but didn't have any place to go with it. Clint Boyer, David Reagan, Brad Keselowski. There's Dale Jr. back in the field. Jr. 14th. And looking for more.
Yeah, see if they helped Junior's car any. That last adjustment they made on that green flag stop, he run up to almost the top 10, but fell back to 17th. He was complaining about the splitter hitting.
Scoring serial on Dale Jr. Mark Martin, Logano right there in this group as well. And then Kyle Busch trying to dig back the lost track position.
Yeah, and we'll watch Kyle Busch and see how he handles this situation. We've talked about his maturity when things like this happen in years past. It has really been not a pretty sight for this group, and we'll see how they handle this adversity today.
He has the ability to set the tone for this team in their run through the championship by how he does handle this adversity today.
He has the ability. We'll see if he uses it. That's the main thing, and he could very well do that.
Well, I will tell you, the team relies on that driver for that leadership. If that driver is calm and confident that you can overcome these things, the crew will too. But if the driver gives up on you, the whole thing can just fall apart on you. Vince?
Well, and Andy, Dave Rogers was telling me this weekend that when Kyle feels pressure like these types of situations, he has a tendency to want to put the whole team on his shoulders and try to carry them to the front, and oftentimes trying to overdrive that car gets them in more trouble. So Dave Rogers will often remind him, just relax, take what the car gives you, but undoubtedly right now not in a good place, and it's not to his doing, really. They've hurted themselves in the pit lane.
Right, so Kyle right now back in 17th position, and you notice just a couple of cars behind him, Jeff Gordon. Gordon has raced his way up to be the first car one lap down.
Yeah, he was up on that wheel. He was coming up through the pack, passing these cars that are one lap down. A.J. Allmendinger was the one that he needed to get past to get in that spot. And now he's got Casey Kane. He's going to have to fight off behind him to keep it.
Kane in the 4, a couple of cars back. So Gordon needing a caution in position to get that free pass and come back around onto the lead lap. There's Alan Gustafson, his crew chief. Brian Vickers in the 83 is a lead lap car, running just in front of Gordon, the Vic in 18th spot. And Ambrose in the 9 as well. Lead lap car, 19th position. Moment ago, Bobby Labonte off the pace down the back straightaway. He's coming to pit road now in the 47 car.
I was going to tell you, behind the wall, he got back up to speed. It was almost like he slowed down and changed boxes and thought that may fix it. And so obviously, would tell me he's got some type of engine issue.
Labonte joining Robbie Gordon, who went to the garage earlier with a problem under the hood. Joe Nemechek, David Stremme, Josh Wise, Michael McDowell retiring from the race in its earlier stages. This is for second place, Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart.
The leader, Ryan Newman, just up in front, who took those 2 turns. I've been really pleasantly surprised to see Newman stay out front this long, because that was quite a few laps they had on those left side. Wondering how that may work, but this car likes that clean air, apparently.
I'll tell you, Ryan Newman's a bulldog, too. Now, he won't give up. He's going to take this and make the most of it. He got that clean air, and he's not going to give this lead up easy. He's one of those guys you can put 2 tires on and really see what it'll do.
There's the gap from the top 3 back to 4th, 5th, and 6th place, Matt Kenseth. Kevin Harvick running 7th in the 29. Heard and seen a little bit of back and forth between Kevin Harvick and Kurt Busch's teams on pit road today, Doc.
Exactly. Kevin has driven his car from 30th to 7th, and the issues for him have not been on the racetrack. The big frustration has been on pit road. Listen in.
Next time, that's twice they've done it, Gil. And I'm telling you, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to have to. And you know what I'm going to have to do. 10-4. Tell them one more time. I mean, that was it. So, I mean, you just don't want to do what's coming next, but you're going to have to because they're not cleaning all their messes up on pit road.
We've got to stop shorter now that he's running better because he's trying to stop short, not to be blocked getting in. We're going to stop way short, gentlemen.
And up front, here is for the lead, Jimmy Johnson to the outside of Ryan Newman. And to the point. So Johnson to the lead. Let's go back and clean up the details on this Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick pitting situation. Dave?
Alan, obviously that second voice you heard was Kurt Busch talking about stopping short. Here's what they've done. The crew has moved this fence from the yellow line back there about 6 feet shorter this way. Kurt's pit is here, Kevin's is in front. And then Kurt will stop at the white line over there with his tires just beyond it. The back end can hang over, but the tires have to get beyond it to be in the pit stall. And Alan, the caution's out. We'll see how they work.
Jamie McMurray. Smoke trailing from the one car.
You can hear that thing come by the start-finish line.
Yeah, wow.
No more than about 3 or 4 cylinders.
Our road crew go to the garage.
Got a good run going. Seems like Jimmy McMurray's kind of a capsule of what his season's been about. When they've had a decent car, then something always happening.
Jamie was running 9th at the time of his problem.
Like Gordon might get that free pass here on this round.
Little, it's blowing up, okay?
I don't think might.
Okay.
He did.
Make it official.
Jeff Gordon will come back onto the lead lap, 22nd place.
I'll have to say he ran hard to get that, but the 4 car was chasing him down right before that. They still need to make some adjustments on Jeff Gordon's car for sure.
So let's see. In this last stretch of race, we've had Jimmy Johnson run up and pass Ryan Newman, who took just right side tires on the last pit stop. We have documented a little bit of the side-by-side pitting. I don't want to call it gamesmanship, but conflict that's going on there between pit crews, where you stop, what you're doing with your equipment while the other guy's trying to get in and out of his pit stall.
This is the shortest run we've had so far, too.
Yeah, and as they come to pit road, this could work really against Ryan Newman right here because he had 45 laps on his left sides before that. I think a lot of these others now take 2. He's going to get stuck taking 4 and lose a lot of that track position. We'll see if that happens.
That's kind of where I was going with that. This is the shortest run before that caution came out. So we'll see. Maybe quite a few cars take 2. It's like some of them are staying. Oh, Jimmy thought he was going to stay out. He looked in his mirror and saw everybody coming. Jamie?
And Carl Edwards, they're going to play a little bit of strategy here. The car has been pretty good, loosened up a bit, but they're going to take right sides only. You see Jimmy Johnson, upper left-hand side. I was just told they're going to take right sides only, and they made an air pressure adjustment. Vince?
Bottom left of your screen, Tony Stewart. Also right sides only with a slight air pressure adjustment. Just needs to rotate the center better, Dave.
Ryan Newman likes his track position. They're going to take 2 again. Fill it full of fuel. He's gone, Doc.
Right bottom of your screen, Matt Kenseth, track bar adjustment, air pressure adjustment, 2 tires only, and he's away.
Woo-hoo, that crewman just got out from in front of that 17 car. Like that strategy by the 39 car?
I loved it. I think that was the time to do it. Get 2 again. It's going to be a bear, be a grizzly bear.
Jimmy Johnson holds the lead on the set of pit stops. Brad Keselowski has not stopped yet. You'll see if he stays out to lead a lap as we go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Sprint. As you saw in NASCAR nonstop, presented by Sprint, Brad Keselowski did not come down pit road after staying out to lead a lap. He stayed out, period. We'll follow up on that in a moment. First, a reminder that the next race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup is Sunday at New Hampshire, the Magic Mile. ESPN coverage 1 Eastern, beginning with NASCAR Countdown, presented by Napa. 7 different winners in the last 7 races on the Magic Mile. We've seen guys get their championship hopes wrinkled up on that track's tough, flat corners. How does it play out? That's next Sunday. Actually, it's this Sunday at New Hampshire here on ESPN. How about the strategy on Keselowski, Vince?
Well, Paul Wolf, the crew chief for Brad Keselowski, decided to keep his driver out and not come with some of the other top runners. And here's the radio communication as they discussed it.
Not sure why everybody would pit when they're not in the window there, Paul. Sure you got all the numbers right there?
10-4.
All right, I trust you, man.
I think those last words were the most important. I trust you. Remember, this is Paul Wolf's first race as a crew chief here at Chicagoland Speedway, and he's been the first one to say they always feel better when they've come back to a track a second time.
Well, I mean, he's in a pretty good spot leading the race, but we'll see how this strategy plays out for him.
Keselowski leading, Jimmy Johnson to his outside. Remember, all these front runners took just right side tires on their pit stops. 99 laps to go. Get back to that fuel window discussion in a minute. Let's see how this restart shakes out.
Yeah, Brad didn't spin the tires on the start there, but it was almost like when he got to high gear that the car really wiggled just as he got to turn one. You see Johnson able to take the lead.
Keselowski was 11th before the pit stop. First at the restart. Kyle Busch, 18, trying to make up some lost ground from earlier. Carl Edwards kind of slid back in that opening lap of racing here. Oh, one in the wall. That's Marcus Ambrose in the 9. No caution yet.
Just stay high here. Got a couple coming inside. Shake out what you got there. Shake out what you got.
What he's got is a damaged race car.
Yeah, but we've seen these cars be pretty tough. He's back in the throttle now, so he apparently feels like everything's okay.
Ambrose lead lap in that 9 car. Top right.
Oh.
Wow.
That wall saved him from spinning out.
He hit it hard, though.
So Ambrose back up to speed. He's in 21st position. He's the last car on the lead lap. Now, some of these cars in this group back here that are side by side, some of them were a lap down and looking perhaps to take a wave around on that caution, a strategy that was foiled when Brad Keselowski didn't pit. Denny Hamlin was one of those guys that was a lap down and maybe had the opportunity to get back on the lead lap.
I think they were counting on that. Everybody making that pit stop and getting that lap back. Dave?
Here's what happened. He had been 2 laps down. He took the wave around last time. That was on about lap 114 when he pitted for fuel the last time. So 50 or so laps in, he was ready to pit. He was on the apron. He was going to come to pit road and go laps down again, and the caution came out. So it was fortuitous for the 11 car.
So it still worked out in his favor.
Yep.
Hey, look at that crossover move by Gordon.
Jeff back in 20th place. 42 Montoya is not on the lead lap. He's a lap down in 27th place. And Hamlin going to take to the apron. We've seen this 24 car be hot and cold at times during the day. Is this one of those cold times?
Well, he just got himself in a spot there. He was trying to make a pass on Ambrose. Denny Hamlin got a big, huge run, tried to make that work, but Jeff got back on the 11 car's quarter panel, slowed him down, got back in front. We'll see him go after 42 of Marcus Ambrose once again here in just a minute.
38 car J.J. Yaley, 1 lap down, 26th place. He's actually racing with Hamlin for a spot there.
Not sure if I said Ambrose, I meant Montoya in the 42.
Yep.
Don't know who I said.
There's Jimmy Johnson. Saw him clear Brad Keselowski on the restart and open up that much of a gap. And we're looking for Carl Edwards here, who slipped back several positions now since the restart. He was running in 5th, Jamie.
This is the worst he has been all day, and he's done it all himself, Alan. It's been on the restarts. 2 restarts ago, he said, guys, I just messed up. I was a sitting duck. He went back 3 positions. Right before this restart, he came on the radio and said, I need to practice my restarts. I need to be better. The NASCAR officials are going to make a montage of my restarts. Joking, but he lost about 7 positions right there, Alan.
Yep. So Carl, all the way back in 13th position right now, and Scott Dale Earnhardt Jr. behind him in the 88, and that is for a spot. Kevin Harvick, 29. Kyle Busch, 18. Paul Menard, 27. All for positions, 7th, 8th, and 9th.
We wondered how Kyle Busch would handle a few problems in the pits. He's doing a nice job back up inside the top 10 now. Working and doing everything he can on the racetrack to make this a good day.
Earlier in the race, the 18 took just right sides only on a pit stop at lap 32. Competition caution early in the race, went to the lead, held most of that track position during the next run of the race. But on a few different occasions on pit stops during the day, they've had some troubles and lost ground on their stops compared to others on the same strategy.
It looks like a solid race car with 2 tires, for sure. This type of strategy might play in his favor later on in this race.
All right, let me come back to that fuel window thing that Keselowski's team was talking about. They made that pit stop with just over 100 laps to go. Fuel mileage here is going to be in that 50 or so range, depending.
Yeah, I've seen, I think that the fuel tanks can do it. We've seen a lot of cars make early pit stops under green, mostly for tire issues, or, I don't think they've actually ran the cars out of fuel. It looks like for the 2 car, they're on that 40-lap cycle, and they last pitted on, like 146. That would have made them to make 2 more pit stops to the end, kind of breaking it up in 40-lap segments. So that might be what their strategy is. You can see Paul now, he's stressing over this a little bit because he's thinking now, if these cars can make it on 1 more stop, I've got to make 2, and this has put me in a bad spot.
And again, so many races this year have played out on strategy and mileage.
Yeah, and that's these drivers that see Tony Stewart go by and take that second spot away now. But if we see them trying to go that 50 laps, we've already seen some real wear on the right side tires. So could that get the caution that the 2 would be looking for?
I think that is what Paul Wolf's counting on.
Harvick, Kyle Busch, 29 and 18. Couple of drivers that at times have had their encounters this year that have been on less than friendly terms. That was kind of a polite way to say it, wasn't it?
That was.
They've been mad at each other several times on the track and off this year.
Well, he's got to be careful right here. He's got his brother with him right now.
Little family tag team.
Yeah, don't let him gang up on you, Kevin.
We talked about that yesterday in the 79 Daytona 500, didn't we?
Yeah,
we looked back.
Yeah. Continue to watch this race and anything else that breaks out on this racetrack for position or otherwise, as we proudly go NASCAR nonstop on ESPN. Presented by Sprint. Jimmy Johnson is the race leader. Tonight on ESPN's Monday Night Football, second-year quarterback Sam Bradford leads the St. Louis Rams into MetLife Stadium, where they'll face Eli Manning and the Giants. It's Rams-Giants on ESPN's Monday Night Football, 8:30 Eastern, and also streaming live on WatchESPN.com and the Watch ESPN app. Coverage starts at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's. Who are you liking that one, DJ?
I like the Giants at home, even though I like to watch Bradford play. Good quarterback there.
Join Goodyear in NASCAR in saluting America's armed forces and give back by helping support our troops. Visit Goodyear.com/support our troops to learn more. Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. And we take an inside look now at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. They call this one Hammer Drop. Well, Jimmy Johnson has dropped the hammer in that 48 car.
Got a 3.6-second lead now over Tony Stewart.
Pretty good race pace set there by Johnson for the fast lap in this race. That is a track record qualifying lap there, top of the screen.
Forgive me if I was supposed to act surprised that he dropped the hammer.
Get closer to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with unlimited access to highlights, news, and more. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. 5-time consecutive champion Jimmy Johnson, only 1 win so far this season.
But he always runs better when the pollen count drops.
This
time of year is when he comes on.
That's your theory?
I don't know.
Much rains we had yesterday. Can't be a whole lot of pollen in the air, so No wonder he's flying here today. Jamie?
I asked Chad Knaus yesterday, what makes you guys so good when it comes to the chase? He said, we simply don't flip a switch. We don't panic. And I said, well, does it get harder every year? He said, this is the most stressful time of the year, and it is harder every year. But they brought it today, guys. This is the same car they ran with at Indianapolis, and they have been flawless on pit road, flawless on their adjustments. Things have been going well for Chad Knaus in this 48 team today.
Heard Chad in our ESPN pit studio during the rain delay on Sunday, talking about how he felt good about where they were. Actually said he thought their biggest question was the pit crew, and they've been tremendous so far today. And when it comes to September, October, November, Jimmie Johnson's going to be there. 70 races in the chase. He's won over a quarter of them.
Wow. That's exceptional right there. But that's what this team is.
So Johnson and most everybody else pitted at lap 165. The third place runner, Brad Keselowski, last stopped at 146. So, Vince, are we going to be seeing them pretty soon on the pit lane?
Well, not only are they going to be shorter on fuel than everyone else, but right now the biggest concern for Brad is his race car. His crew chief, Paul Wolfe, said the key for Brad is to have a car that's snug enough coming off the turns. And right now, Brad says on a 10 scale, he's 7 or 8 loose coming off. That's not a good combination for the two-car Brad Keselowski.
I'll tell you, even with all that, I'm impressed with this run. He didn't get tires when they did. They got right sides. He stayed out. And he's running lap times of as good as anybody, like the second, third fastest laps on the track.
But at times, he has had his hands full behind the wheel. Watch when Tony Stewart passed him for the second spot a few laps back.
I didn't say it was easy, but he has had his hands full. Wow, that thing is loose.
Nice save right there. All clear. First time I've seen you get loose in. Nice save, though.
Joey Meyer, the spotter there. Yeah, the hand said he was loose in.
Yeah.
So if this two-car pits under the green flag shortly, you will see it. In our NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Sprint, there's the gap from third through second, Tony Stewart, up to the leader, Jimmie Johnson. 72 laps to go in the Geico 400 at Chicagoland. 300 miles into the Geico 400 at Chicagoland Speedway. The opening race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Jimmie Johnson leads. Tony Stewart is 2.8 seconds behind him in second place. And as you saw in our NASCAR Nonstop presented by Sprint, Brad Keselowski did make that green flag pit stop a moment ago. Talk about a couple of other guys who are gradually and slowly chipping their way forward in the running order of this race. Mark Martin in the 5 has moved up to 8th spot.
Yeah, Mark's been really solid here. First part of the race, I don't think they had the handle on this, but they made some really nice adjustments. See him racing, battling Kevin Harvick here in that 7th spot now.
AC Mark, since that last restart, really gained a lot of ground.
At this rate, he'll be in contention to win it.
And there is Keselowski, who is the second car a lap down in 21st position. They're racing alongside or nearby Carl Edwards, and Edwards is back in 10th spot. Jamie?
Well, they were just talking about their strategy and the way the rest of the race is shaking down. This is their thoughts.
All right, we're looking like we're going to be pitting and then being 10 laps short. We'll have to pit again here the way we look at it. 2 stops left, 2 stops.
Okay. Don't be afraid to snooker him here. Stop early. Get the waiver out or something.
So they're debating back and forth there. As you heard them, 2 more stops left. Hitting hasn't been the issue for this team. It's been the restart, so we need to keep our eye on the 99, who's now back in the top 10.
Caution is out. Car up the track in turn 3. And into the wall. 38 car has been in trouble. J.J. Yaley was running in 28th position.
10-4.
And that is the 5th caution of the race. Now, following off that radio about needing 2 stops, caution with 63 to go as we look ahead from Casey Mears.
This is the best case scenario, really, for Brad Keselowski.
Against the wall, you see. Clear.
That had the look of a right front.
Yeah, sure did. And Brad Keselowski, he pitted under green. He's one lap down. He won't get the lucky dog here, but he can take the wave around, which will put him on the lead lap, and then he only has to make one more stop along with everyone else from here.
So, pit road open here. Johnson, Stewart, Kenseth Newman, Kurt Busch, top 5 coming in. On the 48 pit stop, Jamie.
And the 38 will be coming in to pit in front of them, so they have to keep their eye on that. Told Jimmy Johnson, stop short. 4 tires. Jimmy said he's getting just a bit free. Track bar down. He was backing off to save fuel in that round. Vince?
Tony Stewart, he's a 2-time winner here at Chicagoland, and he's got a car he believes can do it again today. Just a little tight on compression, a 4-tire change, Dave.
Top right, Ryan Newman gives up 4th. About time he gets some left side tires. The left rear will have a little more air in it. Car was loose. Doc?
Right lower corner, Matt Kenseth said car chattering in the middle, typing much better off. We're going to raise the track bar a little more, and here is Kenseth. He will win the battle off pit road after a 4-tire change. By the way, they're about 9 laps shy on fuel, making it to the checkered flag.
Little track position change there on the pit stop. Jimmy Johnson going to slip back a bit. Matt Kenseth going to move up. And the 22 and 29 come off the pit road together, pitting next to each other on the pit lane. Does Brad Keselowski take the wave around? We follow during NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Sprint. And as we continue the cleanup here at Chicagoland Speedway, you see Brad Keselowski, the first car behind the pace car, and about to take a wave around and come back and rejoin the lead lap. Other cars that will take that wave around include Juan Pablo Montoya, who will come back around and rejoin the lead lap. And the field doubles up for the restart. Last restart, Carl Edwards in that 99 lost some ground.
I'm saving fuel. It's not going to do us any good. Yeah, see, I think, just for the notes, I know it would have been a risk, but I think that 2 car now can just stop once. He'll get to drive around, then be on the lead lap and only stop once if it goes green.
Yeah, probably so. We're only going to stop once also.
If this driving thing doesn't work out for Carl Edwards, he'd make a good crew chief.
He
keeps up with it good. Yeah, I like that.
Jimmy Johnson was the leader coming down the pit lane. Now Matt Kenseth is.
A 17 crew gets it done. We talk about them a lot, I know, every year, but they are just solid and put Matt in position to win a lot of these races.
And they take that number 1 spot they earned in qualifying with a pit stop like that. Going to gain spots every single time on pit road.
And continuing a theme for the day, Kyle Busch's team lost 5 spots on that pit stop.
Just so out of character for this team.
So,
we're going to go top
racing.
10. That's the good thing for him.
Going to go racing with 59 laps to go. Top 6, all drivers in the championship. Watch that 48 car. I thought he was going to hunt a little 3-wide action there for a second.
Yeah, watch this 14. Let's see if he's going to go after this lead. He got aggressive that last restart.
Stewart outside in the 14. Kenseth low in the 17 with a bobble. And Stewart's going to go out front.
Stewart said, I can drive like that too.
Do a great job, bud.
Wert with us earlier had some radio from Tony Stewart where he basically... clean version of it said most everybody else was driving like, what was the word, idiots? Or
Whoa, look at Kenseth, out of shape again. Stewart thinks that, I guess, the best defense is a good offense. Kenseth's really struggling here, though.
Came off pit road with the lead. Now he's racing with Jimmy Johnson for 3rd.
You can tell that watch is ticking down because here comes Harvick.
And this is where he's actually lost some time. It's been on these restarts. See if they've made some adjustments to help Harvick stay in contact with the leaders better.
Truex up to 6th, Menard to 7th. This is a race for the first car 1 lap down and the free pass as Allmendinger kind of bobbles up the racetrack in the 43. Talking about 78 and 11. Hamlin in the 11 trying to get back on the lead lap after an unscheduled stop earlier in the race. 78 is Regan Smith.
Regan's actually he's on the lead lap. Kind of caught up in that. Looks like Casey Kane and Denny Hamlin are racing for that lucky dog spot.
Dale Jr. and Jeff Gordon mentioned that in that last long run of the race, that 24 made some progress.
Yeah, he did, but he started off here in front of Dale Jr. Jr. looks like his car's a little bit better on this run as he tries to battle Kyle Busch.
Oh, what was that?
Get himself in the 10th.
I don't know if that was just a piece of paper or debris, but something flew off the front of that 18, it looked like.
Caution is out for whatever that was.
It looked like maybe a piece of aluminum.
Denny Hamlin not able to get in front of Casey Kane for that free pass then.
6th caution of the race. And it is going to be Casey Kane who gets the free pass.
That is some aluminum debris, it looks like. I don't know where it came from.
We saw it come over the hood of the 18 car, but was it kicked up in front of him or did it come from his car? See here. It's kicked up in front of him.
Yeah, out of the 22 car?
I don't know if the 22 ran over it, but that's where it came from.
It's like a piece of an inner crush panel. An interior panel that's in the wheel well.
I'm curious if that came off that 22 car or... Yeah, it came out the back of the 22 maybe?
Yeah, I didn't see the 22 run over it, so it obviously came out of that car.
Well, if that were a football replay, not enough to overturn the call.
Well, this is putting some teams in a little bit of a pinch because some of them can probably make it from here, or possibly make it. And will they make a stop and put some fuel in? Here they come. Here they come.
53 to go. Not everybody's coming in. Truex stayed out. Most of the front runners have come down pit road, though, Jamie.
And Chad Canal said there's going to be about 15 people coming. All right, let's come. Fuel only, no tires for the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Vince?
For the 14 of Tony Stewart, fuel only. And Darian Grubb said pack it full. Dave? Second place, Ryan Newman. He'll get it full of fuel. He can make it about 50 laps, Alan said. So it's really close, Alan and Doc.
Fuel only for Kenseth. I think he's going to be about 4 or 5 laps shot trying to get off the pit road, and he did beat Tony Stewart off the pit road. By the way, Jeff Gordon might be able to make it if they got it full.
Going to be interesting. Another one of these 2011 races where we've seen the strategy, the track position, the fuel mileage. Wouldn't be surprised if during this caution we see guys shutting the cars off and coasting around this racetrack to save some fuel. You can see it as we go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Sprint.
NASCAR Sprint Cup Series Geico 400 at Chicago is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Goodyear, chosen for superior performance. Goodyear, more driven. And AT&T, the nation's fastest mobile broadband network.
50 laps to go when they come back to the start-finish line, and we get the restart in the Geico 400. Martin Truex Jr., the only of the lead lap cars to not pit under this caution. Dave, he's the leader.
Alan, Chad Johnson is the gunslinging crew chief who left him out there, or was that the intention? What's the plan?
That's the intention. There's no way we can make it on fuel, and judging when everybody else has been pitting today, I don't think anybody else can either. So, keep a track position. If a caution comes out here in 20 or 30 laps, everybody's going to have to come get tires. So,
sounds good. And I'm sure some will try to make it, Alan. You said that, right?
Yeah, I think that'll be the case.
A lot of them that are going to try to make it. They haven't demonstrated how far they can go on fuel by when they've been stopping earlier in the race. It's been tires. It's been when people come in. They don't want to get caught out there with people short pitting. You never get an indication of how far these cars can go until they have to, and we'll see that now. We already saw them play their hand when they pitted with 52 to go.
Look back at the restart order. Menard having a good solid day. There are Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick, seemingly inseparable for a while. Kyle Busch back there in the fourth row. 50 laps to go. Trying to hold off Matt Kenseth for the race lead. Tony Stewart, remember how aggressive he's been the last couple of restarts? Trying to find a way through in that 14 car.
Been able to hold off Jimmy Johnson for that third spot and see what he can do.
And we did not see, under the caution flag, from our onboard cameras, a lot of people shutting the cars off and coasting around to save fuel.
Well, it tells me they think they've got plenty of fuel to go.
But it tells me.
Following up, by the way, checked with the 22 team down on pit road. They say that piece of metal did not come from their car. 18 team says as well, so maybe somebody else dropped. That those cars just were the first ones to kick up and hit.
I would have said the same thing if they'd asked me. Not for my car. Check with someone else.
18 Kyle Busch does have some nose damage on that car.
Must have been from when we saw that debris hit his car.
Kyle running in ninth. Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., 24 and 18 for 13th place. Joey Logano right behind them, the 20 car. He runs 15th. And for second, Mr. Five-Time, Jimmy Johnson. Check that for third.
Just getting out of that last run, Dale. You have that give and take all day. With 46 to go, are you going to give that spot up easily?
No, not easily right now. You know that how sensitive these cars are to aero, get behind the car. You can just keep someone back there, gives you a better chance. And I think Tony Stewart thinks his car's just as good as anybody here on this longer run, so he doesn't want to give up a spot right now.
Denny Hamlin with more troubles.
Yeah, that came from contact a little bit earlier. About a lap after the restart, he got in a 3-wide situation. I saw some contact, but wasn't sure that it was going to create a problem. Just a bad day for Hamlin so far.
Unscheduled pit stop earlier in the race got him behind. They were never able to get enough waiver rounds or free passes to get back on the lead lap. Now he's going to lose some more ground.
Have to take the left side up, guys. That's just a little bit of fuel.
So the 12 seed is going to start his chase by digging a big hole.
Yeah, and I think that contact may have come with Greg Biffle down just off of turn 4 and down the front straightaway through the triangle.
Remember the struggles they had at Richmond last week just to get here? Crew Chief Mike Ford told me this team has always seemed to work through adversity, and they've got to do it again today. They got a lucky break earlier on a caution, but this is certainly not the way they wanted their chase to start.
No, sir. So Hamlin's going to be at least 2 laps down, and maybe a third by the time he gets back up to speed as the leaders come up behind him. Denny in 33rd place. Saw Dale Jr. and Clint Boyer racing for 12th and 13th. How about this for second place? Tony Stewart looking to get a spot with that 14 car on Matt Kenseth.
Yeah, you better watch this 14 by the end of this race. This car is really solid right now, like the adjustment they made. If he doesn't lose this spot to Jimmy Johnson before he gets around Kenseth, I think Tony Stewart's going to be sitting in the catbird seat.
Solid day for Stewart so far, Vince.
Boy, it sure has. And crew chief Darian Grubb, they've really done a nice job on pit road over the wall, and they've made only very minor air pressure adjustments the last couple of stops. And, Grubb had a great attitude. He said, after Richmond, we were 102 points behind. So when they reset all the points and we're just 12 behind, well, that sounds like a pretty good deal to us. Yep. So they had a great attitude coming in, and this is obviously a track Tony runs well.
And one of my questions about this team, remember how they started the year? They had the second and third races of the season at Phoenix and Vegas, that they had the best car and probably could have won, and they got away from them in those late strategy plays. It kind of set the tone for their season. They're winless to this point. Tony's perhaps best track statistically, if they could start the chase off winning here, what it might do for them in this 10-week run.
Yeah, absolutely. And this probably has to seem somewhat easy now because a lot of the pressure's off. They're in the chase. They know that their equipment's better. See Tony almost getting walls. We see Kenseth go to the high side for the lead now.
Truex low in the 56. Kenseth high in the 17. And new leader will be Matt Kenseth. 40 laps to go.
Yeah, see a big run by Tony Stewart off of turn 2 from that high side. Should be able to take that spot. See if he can track down Matt Kenseth again.
Just looking back on that 56 car, his tires about 10 laps older than the other guys. Enough to make a difference?
Yes, somewhat, but that's not the biggest thing. I think he hasn't been, these other cars have been better. I think the biggest thing is he had air pressure up, and these other guys, it took a little bit of time for all of that to come back, even though there was just fuel that last time, but it does make a difference.
Kurt Busch.
It's like this is Dale Jr. making a charge going forward, going by Kurt Busch now.
Man, the last few runs have been a lot better for this 88 car and Dale Jr. They've made some nice adjustments.
Dale Jr. cracking the top 10 for the first time all day, while Kurt Busch, who's been up front all day, is sliding back, Dave.
Yep, Alan, and he is not happy about it.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The stuff gets old after a while. Just have to tell you. It just gets real old watching them drive away. It just makes you feel we're the worst we can be after the final pit stop. Oh, wait. We did again.
Now, for feedback, he is telling his crew chief it won't turn into a 50-acre field, but I think the main thing to listen is that it's when the track gets rubbered up. Kurt's been talking about that, and he does say to crew chief Steve Addington that seems to be happening every week. So they've got to work on what happens later in the day when the track gets full of rubber, and it's different than when it starts the day.
Yeah, I've talked to Kurt a little bit about this, and he feels that there's two things as the track loses grip, and that's whenever it rubbers up and the temperatures go up, that's whenever their problems start.
So Kurt back to the 11th position now in that 22 car.
You see Harvick making a run on that top side, going around Paul Menard for the 6th spot, but what a great job by Paul Menard here today. He started up on the front row and he's doing a nice solid job all day long. Right now, the only, he and Martin Truex, the only two inside the top 10 that aren't in the chase.
And after a week that could have been very distracting and so on, with all of the allegations of the intentional spin out at Richmond, they've been...
Yeah, that's how you answer it. Come out here and do your job on the racetrack, and everybody forgets about that.
And Tony Stewart trying to close this deal right here, Doc.
Indeed he is, and now Matt Kenseth is the guy that's in his sights. But up in front of him, Matt Kenseth on the 17 car, it is nail-biting time. The two words I don't want to hear, fuel mileage. Listen in.
10 laps on tires, Matt. Just do the best you can. Save us a little bit of fuel. Everybody's in the same boat. We're about 3 laps short. Some are 1 to 2.
Now, best case scenario for Matt, they would be 3 laps shy. Worst case scenario, based on what they've been getting, they would be as many as 7 laps shy on fuel. Kevin Harvick in the same boat. The only one down on my end of the pit road that might have a shot, very, very close, would be Jeff Gordon. And how about that if he makes it all the way, given everything he's dodged today?
Yeah, and I'll throw somebody else out there that has a little damage on their race car, but Marcus Ambrose pitted on the very last lap before we went back to green. So he's got a couple more laps of fuel to the good, even though those are some caution laps. So he is running at a pace that he could possibly be out there and be a part of this.
When I talked to a lot of crew chiefs in the garage area here over the weekend, this was their greatest fear. The crew chiefs involved in the championship. The theme that we've seen all season long of fuel mileage races and strategy races coming down to a nail-biter at the end and being on the wrong end of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you really worry about every time you fire them up, is that you can make, you want to make good calls, but you don't want to make a call that can really ruin your day.
Tony Stewart, a couple of car lengths back now from Matt Kenseth in second, Vince.
Before the race, I talked to crew chief Darian Grubb. I said, how many laps can you go on fuel? And he said 50. Well, their final pit stop was at lap 214. That would leave them 3 laps short. But about 20 laps ago, Darian Grubb told Tony Stewart, we're 1 lap shy. Try to save me some if you can.
Well, that's doable as a driver for sure to be able to save. And that may be as much as what Tony's doing right here and maybe trying to run Matt kind of hard, but not use up all of his fuel either.
It's a perfect situation to save fuel. If he's got a better car, which it appears he does, than Matt Kenseth, he can back off early, not touch the brake. He can, still stay right, kind of tracking him in the draft and save some fuel.
Dale Jr. doesn't look like he's saving much. Well, he's really making a charge here. You see he's called Kyle Busch now, trying to take that 9th place away.
And for the lead on the right, Tony Stewart under Matt Kenseth. And to the point, 29 to go. What are you hearing, Doc?
Well, Jimmy Finnick, exactly what Andy Petrie was talking about. Jimmy Finnick told Matt Kenseth, hey, let him go. Let him go. We got to save some fuel here. Don't worry about the 14. Let him go for now and save us some gas.
Smart moves. Jimmy Finnick was one of those guys I talked to. And Dale, this was a conversation we all had earlier in the week. You talked about how that was an overriding theme to a lot of people in this chase, was how this type of racing that we've seen all season long, these strategy races, might affect this championship.
Yeah, and absolutely. And having 5 of these races on 1.5 mile tracks, we're just going to see more and more of that type of strategy play out.
So how's it going to unfold over these final 28 laps? Will there be another caution? Will somebody run out of fuel and take a big hit in points? Will the way the finish turns inside out play out during NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Sprint? We'll see. As you saw during NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Sprint, Tony Stewart laying on the clutch in the corners, trying to shut those RPMs down and save a little bit of fuel.
Yeah, that basically lets the car kind of freewheel, so it's not pulling, not using as much fuel. A lot easier than turning the switch off, which we'll see probably some guys be able to do, but Tony Stewart's doing a nice job.
Change for second place. Martin Truex Jr. has rallied up around Jimmy Johnson and around Matt Kenseth. He's up to the number 2 spot. I was wondering during this last stretch of race if Jimmy Johnson was kind of pacing to save fuel, Jamie.
Well, he was, but that wasn't the plan after the last round of pit stops. Chad Canals told him just go after it until 10 laps to go. They were going to be 1 lap short. Well, after they realized that the 14 and the 56 and the 17 were battling and they couldn't catch him, he said back it off. So that was about, with 30 laps to go, Jimmy started backing it off, but they're so detailed about it. Chad Canals wanted a countdown. Jimmy said he is backing off, leaving his foot off the fuel for about 5 to 6 car lengths longer, exiting the corner to save fuel.
All right, Jamie, thanks. Just joining us. Got one of those strategy situations shaping up. Guys are racing for the win, but trying to make sure they've got enough fuel to get to the checkered flag.
Yeah, and Martin Truex up there taking over that second spot. He's got nothing to lose right now. He can't make it anyway from here, so he might as well run as hard as he possibly can and see what happens from here.
You got Tony Stewart up there just looking in his mirror. So, like I say, clutching it. He's running decent lap times doing that. He's learned how to do that well and run fast enough and save fuel.
Referencing the 56 car, remember he did not pit under that last caution, Dave. What are they saying now?
Last time he did, Alan, was lap 205. You add 50 to that and a few caution laps. You don't quite get to lap 267, so they haven't called him in yet, but he's certainly got the button down right now. Doesn't look like he's saving fuel.
And looking at the gap from this second place car up to Tony Stewart, right? Stewart's in there. He's dropping that clutch in the corners, trying to save a little fuel. And he's got to have an eye on the rearview mirror at the same time, right? To make sure he doesn't give up too much ground.
Yeah, that's why this job's so easy. Everybody can just jump in these and drive. So, yeah, that's a lot going on, you know. Oh, by the way, I'm leading the race, and here's everything that I have to do to make sure that I do it properly and deal with lap cars and cars that are coming at me pretty fast.
He's got good information coming in his ear, too, from Darian Grubb, and I'm sure Darian's telling him right now, don't worry about that 56. We're not racing him at all. Just watch the cars behind, and he's giving him the gap.
You're positive he can't make it. They're talking about debris, trying to get a caution, but...
Darian Grubb giving that good information.
Yep.
So Tony trying to decide how hard he's going to press on this 56 car when he catches him, Vince.
Well, that's exactly right, because as you heard Tony say, are you sure this isn't for position if this 56 gets around me? But Darian has been updating him on the two cars running third and fourth, and that's Matt Kenseth and Jimmy Johnson, as if the 56 cannot make it, and they're sure of it. He just reminded Tony again, the 56 did not pit the last time. He can't go further than us.
Now you get into that situation also where strategy is affected by who's in the championship and who's not. 56 car goes to the point, 16 laps to go. Not in the championship, long time since they've won. They'll do anything to get a win if the fuel runs out.
Yeah, it's going to run out way before the end of the race, though. And he just, like I said, Tony Stewart did the right thing. Just let him go. You're not racing him at all.
And for Tony Stewart, yeah, he'd like to win. It's been a long time since he's won. But they've got to get to the finish.
Oh, yeah, back to Stewart. Absolutely, yeah. He has to make sure that they make it to the end.
Long time. Tony Stewart has been a race winner consecutive years on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series.
Yeah, 2 times he's won here, and both of those were his first win of the year. I'd love to have that today.
So you see that Stewart has really gotten quite a gap on Kenseth, Johnson, and Newman now.
Yeah, he's been about 2 to 3 tenths of a second.
Car in front of you is going to pit this time.
Bob Jeffries, the spotter for Tony Stewart.
Yeah. But Tony is still running faster than the 17 and the 48, so just hope that he has, or maybe he's already thinking that he's saved enough and he's just trying to keep a nice pace in front of these guys. As you see Martin Truex peel off now to go to pit road.
So this stop is going to come with 14 laps to go. Tony Stewart goes back to the lead. And you hear he's pushing in that clutch down the straightaway. That engine's going quiet. Trying to hold his gap and make sure he's got enough fuel. Dave?
Martin Truex hits pit road, and Doug Newell is the fuel man. He will put enough fuel in to get him to the end. 2 right side tires as well. Like you said, it was worth the risk. These guys were looking for something to happen.
Chad Johnson, he learned a little bit of a hard lesson today on how to judge how far other people can go. You really can't get a good hack on that when in the beginning of the race when people are making good, these pit stops for tires and short pitting.
Gap from the leader to Matt Kenseth. Doc?
A lot of concern about fuel for the 17 car of Kenseth. In fact, you may see the 48 go by very quickly because of this. Listen in.
And let's start thinking about shutting her down, shutting her off and close it for a little bit and get us some more there.
They were 3 to 5 laps shy, and Jimmy Finnick doesn't want to run out of gas with 2 laps to go. That would be a killer in race 1 of the chase.
You want to win the race. You want to get the bonus points that go with winning. But the damage for running out of fuel and losing a dozen, 20 spots on the last lap is too great to risk.
I'm telling you, the pressure on top of those pit boxes is immense right now. You can tell it right there just looking at Jimmy Finnick.
Jimmy Johnson, third in that 48 car. Again, same situation. Trying to get to the finish. Race for second. Oh, that's close.
Now, they got to be careful racing around each other with this, pushing the clutch in and all that, because it's not necessarily, you're not getting what you expect sometimes.
Davis Cat, we got 10 laps to go.
Earl Barman, the spotter for Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, you hear Jimmy, they're really easing back with the throttle out of it longer than what they have been normally. That's just the way that you save fuel on them without maybe kicking the clutch in or anything else. And the car that I've been watching, it's up to 6. Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jamie, can they make it?
Dale Dale Jr., they believe that they can make it on the right-hand side. Update on Jimmy Johnson real quick on the left-hand side. The engine guys just came over and told Chad Knaus, that's a tongue twister, told him to go full throttle and then back off early into the corner. So they're working with their driver, telling him to get around this 17. Meanwhile, Dale Jr. on the right-hand side, after everything that could have possibly gone wrong last weekend went wrong, they're having quite a weekend. They brought a different platform setup. And Steve Letarte told me he didn't mind if his driver would be yelling because the car didn't handle very well, but it would be faster. Well, everything has worked out. He started today in 19th and running up in 7th right now. 6th, actually, Alan.
Steve Letarte said this week he loved it if it became a fuel mileage race because they've had a couple of chances to win under those circumstances this year. Wasn't it Charlotte in the 600?
Yeah.
Last corner of the race?
Well, he lost it, though.
They ran out.
That's the problem.
How about Harvick back in 4th, Doc?
They told him at the beginning of the run, you're 3.8 laps short. He said he's been saving fuel. He just now asked Gil Martin, how about it, Gil? Are we okay? And Gil said, I don't know, but just go for it, Kevin. Go for it. They turned him loose.
Yeah, the fact is you really don't know. I mean, you know when you're short by your calculations, but you don't know how much is in that car.
No, and it's hard to tell as a driver just how much you've done and what you've done. We talked about Jimmy Johnson there telling him they don't want him part throttling down the straightaway because that could mess up the engine and hurt the engine, so they don't want that scenario. They'd rather have him run out as to blow up.
So Harvick in the 29, by Kenseth in the 17 for 3rd. Tony Stewart leading 2.3 seconds ahead of Jimmy Johnson. Kevin Harvick 3rd, Matt Kenseth 4th, Ryan Newman 5th. Earnhardt Jr. in 6th is 6 seconds behind. There's the gap from 1st to 2nd. 6 laps to go. Harvick for 2nd on Johnson.
At least he's saved plenty.
Yeah, he's not saving any now. It's a gamble for him to go now.
And it puts pressure on Stewart.
Yeah, they were just about a half a tenth apart there is all that Harvick was able to beat Stewart the last time, so Tony's still running pretty fast.
5 laps to go, 5.
See right there, Tony Stewart just pushed the clutch in. Easing it out a little bit now. I tell you, it takes a lot of skill to do what he's doing and saving fuel and trying to run these lap times fast enough to win. Watch this. He doesn't do it going into 3. He clutched it going into 1.
Harvick beat him by about a half a second last lap. Tony's got a lot of traffic right in front of him. See how that affects what he's able to do.
There's Harvick.
I think Harvick's going to catch him. It's just going to be, does Harvick have enough fuel to make it to the end? And I think when he gets to Stewart, Stewart's going to quit all the nonsense of pushing the clutch in and run as hard as he can.
Yeah, they ran about the same lap time, only 0.03 of a second that last lap. I think one thing that's helping Tony Stewart, that car is driving so good, and when it drives like that, you can back off the throttle, let the car roll a lot more, and now obviously you're using less fuel like that. That's why he's not slowing down as much doing all of this.
3 laps to go. 1.7 seconds back to Kevin Harvick.
Tony still has enough lead to soft pedal to the end.
It was a year ago in New Hampshire. Tony Stewart led the first race of the championship. Ran out of gas while leading, coming to the white flag. He's coming to the white flag this time, leading with fuel mileage in play. 1.4 seconds back to Kevin Harvick, a lap and a half to go.
That team never recovered from running out of fuel leading that race either. Really affected the rest of their chase. Does he have enough today?
Is somebody going to run out and lose a chunk of points? Will the lead change hands in the final lap, or can Stewart begin his championship with a breakthrough win?
Like
there are cars on the apron running out of fuel as Stewart takes the white flag. It was Kyle Busch, Andy referenced a second ago, on the apron out of fuel. Half a lap to go.
Now Gordon's out of fuel.
All clear. Keep coming.
You'll see Gordon there. Matt Kenseth, Jimmy Johnson, all slowing out of gas. Tony Stewart, the fuel holds up. Tony Stewart opens the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup with his first win of the season. There are cars running out of gas everywhere around this racetrack. Matt Kenseth getting pushed by the 38 car. He doesn't want that on the last lap of this race.
Well, he got pushed all the way down the back straightaway and all the way through 3 and 4. And that is illegal on the last lap.
Officials will look at it. Look at the guys running out of gas. Jimmy Johnson was out. Kyle Busch was out.
Paul Menard's out.
Trevor Bayne is slow on the apron.
Good job, guys. Proud of you.
Allmendinger ran out of gas. Looks like Ryan Newman ran out of gas. Jeff Gordon ran out of gas. Look at them all. They got across the start-finish line and just hooked the left onto pit road because they're all out of gas. But that car had it all figured just right.
Wow, what a job Tony Stewart did right there in saving fuel, staying out front also.
Calculations were right, Vince.
Darian Grubb gave Tony Stewart a great race car, and Stewart saved the fuel he needed. How concerned were you as those final laps were ticking down, especially after the way the chase opened last year at Loudon with running out of fuel?
That did come back into mind a little bit, but just awesome race car, awesome job by the pit crew. Tony did an awesome job. That's the way it starts the chase right there.
Yeah, they did it. Great job by this crew. They got the job done over the wall today, big time, Alan.
Tony Stewart with his first win of the season. We talked just a few minutes ago about how last year's championship run started off on the wrong foot and they never recovered. And earlier in the day, I mentioned what a win here might do for this team.
Absolutely. They have to be on top of the world with this win, looking that Loudon next weekend where his cars finished first and second. Tony finished second to his teammate Ryan Newman. So a lot of momentum here.
And our Goodyear winning moment, Tony Stewart with a little lap before the fans holding that checkered flag. The Saturday night short track racing tradition. No surprise, Smoke would spend his victory celebration that way. Now, the whole finishing order kind of turned inside out on the last lap. Jamie Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to get third.
Yes, he starts off 19th today, and they just made the right adjustments. Those fundamental changes seem to really help today. You guys made the right call. How happy are you with the third place finish today, Junior?
I got to thank the team. First off, we had really, really good pit stops all day long. Those guys have worked hard to try to improve, and they really did today. And the car was a bit of a struggle in some parts of the race, but we made some changes at the end. The car was really, one of the fastest cars on the track, and we drove up in the top 10 there. We started trying to save a little gas, and we made it further than most. So I'm pleased with the engine, the guys at the engine shop, the guys that put the car together in the fab shop, all the guys in the 88-48 shop, this whole team. We worked hard all weekend trying to just be smart, and it was a good weekend for us.
And you gained 6 positions in the points. He's 6th now. Dave?
And Carl Edwards is 3rd in the championship right now after a 4th place run. Talk about your day.
It was really good, and it was really bad, and at the end it was pretty good. So I'm happy with that. That's a strong finish. I got to thank Aflac for being on board. They've been behind us 100%, and we came into this race feeling a lot of confidence. In the first half, we led a bunch. I felt really good. And there at the end, Bob and Jason did a great job of telling me to save fuel and giving me updates on where everyone was. So a great finish for us, for Ford, Scott's, Aflac, everybody. It's a good start. We'll go to Loudon and hopefully run like we did at Richmond.
Carl, a good man to have in a fuel mileage race. Doc?
And I'm not sure crew chief Gil Martin was confident that Kevin Harvick had enough. When he turned you loose with 7 to go, how comfortable were you that you had enough fuel to make it?
I wasn't ever comfortable, but I knew I had saved a little bit under caution and a little bit at the beginning of that run, and they felt comfortable with the lap time. So everybody on our Budweiser Chevrolet did a great job, and knowing exactly how far we can go, we ran out coming onto pit road there. So good first race for us.
And the gamble paid off. Kevin Harvick, the points leader, by 7 points, Alan.
Harvick finished 9/10 of a second behind Tony Stewart, who gets his first win of the 2011 season in the first race of the Chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. We head to Napa Victory Circle to hear from the race winner.
I know
Tony Stewart getting ready to climb out of his race car, and what a surge his team has made, going from 9th in the points to start this chase to 2nd in the point standings, and it was a big win for this team. They have been so close throughout the course of this season and hadn't been able to get to victory lane, but today they do it. Now, I know you weren't feeling so good yesterday, but this makes you feel better, I'm sure. How big is it to start the chase with a win here today?
Oh, it's huge. I had a migraine all day yesterday, so I'm kind of glad we didn't race. But, man, this Office Depot Mobile One Chevy was awesome. And all of our partners with Burger King and Coca-Cola and U.S. Army, Tornadoes, El Monterey, Haas Automation, all these guys. We've had a rough year, so this is a good way to start it off.
Congratulations. Tony Stewart has now won a race for the 13th consecutive season.
Now let's go down the Gatorade victory lane.
Terrific day for Tony Stewart, and really needed.
Yeah, really needed, but just shows, we were talking about maybe 6 or 7 teams strong. This obviously adds one more to the mix at least.
Yeah, this started a few weeks ago when he had the great run at Atlanta, and then last week at Richmond, and now the win here.
Now, with all the cars running out of fuel on the last laps, and some other things that were going on, like Matt Kenseth getting that push, NASCAR says Kenseth will become the first car 1 lap down by getting that assistance on the last lap. And with all the people running out of fuel, right-hand column, look at where they finished. Jimmy Johnson went back to 10th, Kyle Busch to 23rd, Matt Kenseth to 21st. And that does include Matt Kenseth's penalty, by the way. And again, NASCAR will go back and review again the scoring to be sure with everybody running out on the last lap, but that's what we've got at this point, and we think that's going to be a pretty accurate picture as we head off to New Hampshire next Sunday. New Hampshire, Dover, Kansas, Charlotte, Talladega, Martinsville. Going to have some great racing as we decide this championship. Hope you'll join us at the racetrack. That's how, NASCAR.com/tickets. And, of course, all the telecasts. ESPN, with the exception of the Saturday night race from Charlotte, which will be on ABC. Race 1 in the chase, a final thought?
Lived up to all the expectations right there. That was incredible, and I think we've got 9 more just like that.
Yeah, I know. It did live up to the hype, and the hype is that these strategy races are in play for this chase, and you better be ready for them.
Race number 2 to a flat mile track, New Hampshire. Next Sunday, coverage ESPN starting at 1 Eastern Time. NFL Primetime, presented by Bud Light, is next. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Tony Stewart wins in Chicagoland.